Hello and welcome to Dash 28 Live. I'm your host Mike Adkins, and today we are bringing you the top table match from the final round of the Dragonfall gaming conference.
It's an overall convention, yeah, but this particular event is just the Dragonfall GT.
Just the Dragonfall Kings of War GT at the Dragonfall Gaming Convention. Awesome. Mm-hmm. And we have our players here who have made it all the way to the top table for the fifth round. We have Richard LeKing, or Laking. Is it LeKing or Laking? Laking. And Kyle Peach. Hi, Kyle. And joining me to commentate, we have Mark Taylor, who's the TO for the event. We also have Felix Castro, Mike Rossi, and Britton Williams chiming in with color commentary and analysis over the course of the match. Thanks for being here, guys. And I think that's about it. So without further ado, let's just go straight into the lists. There's some fun things that Mark is doing specifically for this tournament and for the scenario for this round, but we'll let him talk about those a little later on after they get into playing. And for right now, we'll just dive on into your list. So let me make sure I've got them, and we will bring them up. All right. So these are Kyle's Varinger. Kyle, could you walk us through your list, please?
All right, sure. So I'm playing Varinger. I don't play Varinger usually. I didn't think I was going to play in this event, and then suddenly my weekend opened up, and I decided to just play a list that I didn't have to think too hard about. So we have 2 Fallen Hordes with no items, 3 Mounted Sun Regiments, all with Brutal, a Frostfang Horde with Staying Stone, because I had 5 points, 2 Snowfox Regiments, and then if you want to scroll down, we got 2 Lords on Frostfang, both with the Snowfox, because you always take the Snowfox, and then 1 with Slashing, 1 with Crushing, and then Magnilda, because Magnilda.
All right. Yep, 11 drops, 22 unit strength, and it's called Dragonfall, and so everybody gets a special dragon living legend, and this is the one that you've built. Kyle, can you walk us through what options you took for your dragon?
Right. So to go with my theme of just punching you in the face as hard as possible, I took all the options to help the dragon punch people in the face as hard as possible. So I upgraded it. One of the upgrade options was to bring it from melee 4 to melee 3, and also from 10 attacks to 12. So obviously I gave it that. I also gave it a little bit of a nerve bump. So he picked up, instead of 16, 18 like they normally are, he's dash 19. And then there's, Mark, I think Very Inspiring was part of that, right?
Correct.
And finally, the other upgrade was actually a Vicious Aura to just help everybody else.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Now let's pop over and take a look at Richard's Undead.
So this is, I'm predominantly playing this one because I'm building this army at the moment, and I'm just playing around with variants of it to see what I'm liking to use. It's kind of a bit of a take on, I don't know if you guys have seen Dan King's horrendous whitelist, where it's all the whites and wraiths, and it's all very unpleasant. But I've taken some of the bits from that and made it less horrible. So I've added the bits that I like Revenants, like a Gorblight and things like that. But kept things like a couple of Necromancers with weakness. So basically we start off with Jarvis, because he's cheap, but adds quite a bit of utility and very inspiring, which is nice. 2 units of zombies, predominantly just to bump up some unit strength and do zombie things. Revenants are there to effectively provide an anvil, and with Blade of Slashing, I found they can hammer back a bit more efficiently than they normally can as well. So they're all right. 2 units of wraiths, because they're great, especially when combined with weakness. 1 with Helm of Confidence, 1 with Blade of Slashing. I keep forgetting the Blade of Slashing though, so it might as well not be there. My premier beatstick in the army, of course, is the Soul Reaver Infantry with the Brew of Sharpness. perhaps a bit overkill. It's been pretty good though so far. It hasn't let me down just yet. Revenant Cavalry is basically just there as some mobile chaff. Whites are my other kind of beatstick unit with Brew of Haste, just so that they can kind of fill the role of cavalry more than anything else. Gorblight, I like him. I've painted him up and I was really happy with how he's painted, so I want to try and get some more utility out of him. Vampire Lord, because in theory I was thinking, oh, there'll be loads of characters to run around sniping and trying to kill, and there hasn't been in any of my games. But other than that, he's pretty handy. Staying Stone just to make him a little bit more durable. And then 2 Necromancers, both have weakness. One has Banechant and Conjurer's Staff, and the other has Inspiring Talisman. Ever dependable, really. Very reasonably priced casters. The general idea, of course, is that you've got an army which has, on the whole, defense 5 or 6, 2 cases of weakness there to try and make it even harder for people to hurt it. And the idea is it should be able to outgrind opponents. Whether it'll do it in this matchup, I am really not sure, because this is very much axe to face in terms of that Varangar list. So I'm a little worried that he'll just steamroll me. But we'll see. We'll see. It should be interesting anyway. I mean, it'll help if I can actually get weakness off this game. And then, my dragon. I took the Lightning Bolt and Wind Blast predominantly because I was thinking the ability to take out ranged chaff is something that my list doesn't really have a lot of natively. So having Lightning Bolt 9 is great for taking out things like, especially things like those Snow Foxes, for instance. Very handy. I gave it the Phalanx and Ensnare because that makes it very survival. And also, again, if nothing else, gives me a mobile anvil that I can just stick into things and go, well, what are you going to do? Especially if it's cavalry or flying. Especially because any of you people are going to have dragons. Taking them down to at least melee 5 is quite handy. And finally, I went with the Stride Aurora. It's effectively the Stride Aurora because the other two are not such a big deal. But with the amount of terrain that I was expecting, given some of the scenarios, I felt that would be useful, especially with things like Soul Reavers and the Whites and, everything else basically other than the Wraiths. So, yeah, overall it's been doing all right so far. The Dragon has probably been least impactful, probably part of my list. But, it's done a fair bit in most of the games, except for one where it got wavered on turn 1 and then spent the rest of the game wavered or dead. But yeah, other than that, that's the general idea of it. I really do wish I had some sort of healing in there now, though, to try and get cheeky victory points. But my choice. I could have taken something else. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we are going to now bring up your UB room so you guys can walk us through your deployment. The map we'll let Mark talk about the terrain once you guys are doing your thing, since he's here. All right, so it looks like we have the undead are up on top. So then, Richard, would you like to walk us through how you deployed?
Sure. I'm effectively doing a refused flank. The Varangar are quicker than me, and they hit like a sledgehammer, and therefore the idea is to basically protect flanks as best I can, and also, weirdly, protect the zombies. Because the only thing we're scoring on here is by the dragons, and they are just free points. If that dragon gets into these zombies, then basically it's game over. And yeah, I'm trying to take advantage of that obstacle in the center on my deployment zone, and also because I'm the only person, out of the two of us, I'm the only one with any ranged power as well. Admittedly, he's going to be coming towards me anyway, but it means I can hopefully pick and choose my battles a little bit more. Yeah, and that's the general thinking behind what I've done there.
Okay, can you step us through which units you put where?
Sure. We've got wraiths on each of the flank. The far wraiths next to the what's it called? The obstacle over here has Helm of Confidence, just so that I can. So they can act relatively independently and hopefully survive for a couple of turns. Mm-hmm. The vampire next over here is trying to shadow Magnilda because I didn't really want her flying around being a menace. These guys will basically form the starting point of my Anvil, the Revenant Horde. They've got a lot of work to do given the amount of stuff on that flank at the moment. We then have Cav and the Soul Reaver infantry in the middle, hopefully smash face back again. Goreblight, again, is quite a useful anchor position in the centre there, especially with the Inspiring Necromancer behind him. Dragon facing off against his to try and keep him honest. Whites in the wood, because near the dragon they have Strider. And after that, again, the other Wraiths trying to hold the other flank. I don't know how long they realistically hold against things like Fallen, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. And it looks like you put Jarvis behind your Revenant regiment?
Yes. Apart from the little guy that's living life a little bit. The Inspiring guy is actually this one behind the wood. I mean, he's living life a bit dangerously there at the moment, but everyone else, obviously, they're trying to hide behind big, chunky things so that they can't get charged.
Okay, great.
I don't really want to lose my Necromancers early on in this, because I do kind of need the surge.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and Kyle, could you walk us through your deployment starting over here on the left?
Sure. So over here we've got some Fallen. There with this big rock there. I really only had room for one unit, and okay, maybe I could have put one of the lords there, but I figured it'd be Fallen because between the river and the forest, I needed Pathfinder there. And then going over here, I've got Mounted Suns with the dragon backing them up, just to add punch into his main line, along with these Dire Fang. In front of them, I got some Snow Foxes. Maybe they'll just chaff for it. And then over here, I've got one of my Lords, again, just to add punch to the line, threaten a lot of different angles. Over here, I've got more Mounted Suns. I think this was an early drop back when I didn't know which side he was mostly going to be deploying on. We got Magnilda over kind of inspiring this portion of the army. She's got to worry about that Lord, but I think I'm fast enough that fighting him won't be an issue. And then over here I've got some other fast stuff like Snow Foxes, Fallen, another Lord, and then Mounted Suns in a spot that they can actually move up quickly, because again, there's a lot of terrain on this board. So there are only so many places my Mounted Suns can actually go double.
All right. Thank you for walking us through that, guys. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a really interesting game. So at this point, I will wish you both good luck, and go ahead and get rolling. And we'll be watching, and we'll see you back here when you guys are done.
No worries. Cheers.
Sounds good.
Good luck.
All
right. So they're gonna roll for first turn and get started. Since we got Mark here, are those numbers on the terrain for the heights of the terrain?
That's correct.
Is that what they've marked?
Correct.
Okay. So those are not objective markers or anything to do with the scenario. Okay.
So let's go ahead and touch on that then for the scenario. It's been corrected a number of times, but I've been calling this a modified kill scenario. Basically, given that this is Dragonfall, I've wanted to have the dragons be a very featured element for the whole weekend. So they get the custom dragon to begin with, and that has typically played into either, and I'll get to the scoring instruction in a second, but either the primary objective or the secondary objective in some capacity. This objective is purely kill the dragon. That thing's been a menace. You need to take it down. So the scoring for this scenario, each player will earn 1 victory point for each wound that is either dealt or removed through either the dragon's direct attack, spell, aura, or other effect. So Cloak of Death, for example, each wound applied from Cloak of Death is 1 victory point. Each wound removed from Radiance of Life, each wound removed from Regen, each wound removed from Aura of Life Leech, Lightning Bolt, or whatever. So that's purely the primary objective. So the primary is scored onto a 15-5 sliding scale, but every other unit, I mean, there's attrition bonus victory points as well. On top of that, the total maximum score each round is 22. So killing other units matters as well, but the primary, up to 10-point difference comes from how much more impactful your dragon is than the opponent's dragon.
Interesting. So basically it's any impact that the dragon has on the game gives you
Correct.
a point, whether it's doing a wound to a unit with a spell or in combat, or if the dragon has like Radiance of Life, then every point it takes off of every unit around it is 1 point.
Correct.
As well.
So
Wow.
there are some things where just because it's mathematically way too fuzzy to actually calculate, things like one of the aura options for the dragon is Elite, or Vicious for that matter. Those wounds don't factor into it because it's hard to really add if you're, especially for Elite, if you rerolled 6 attacks, how many of those should count?
Right.
Do you want to roll those 6 separate? No. Those aren't going to be in the equation.
Interesting. Okay, so they're
Like
going to have to be
for-
keeping track as they go through the game. It might be a little hard for us to keep count here at home, but I guess we will try.
Yeah, and the idea with most GTs, the schedule for this event being on UB, I mapped it to the Bug Eater GT that was held back in April, I think that was, where you did the first game on Friday, next 2 games on Saturday, and then the last 3 games on Sunday, just to provide a maximum 6+ hour window per game. Being at the end of that, I know when I played in the Bug Eater by game 5, I was, it's the end of a GT weekend. You're pretty well mentally wiped. You don't really want a very super complicated scenario. And while this isn't as simple as pure kill, it's not nearly as complex as some of the other scenarios that are in the pack. So I wanted it to be something that's relatively straightforward.
Except that you are tracking every single thing your dragon does.
I mean, yes. Like I said, it's not as straightforward. There are simpler scenarios that exist, but you're only tracking the one. So
Sure. So long as everybody has a calculator or a document open or something like that.
in
so-
playtesting, it wasn't that terrible of a record keeping exercise. So, because I had concerns about that, especially playing on UB. I mean, it's a lot easier when you're in person. You can just write down 6/12 on your army list when you're at the table. But in beta round testing with this with trial groups, it really wasn't difficult for them ever. So it stayed in.
Okay. And are these guys playing on a clock right now?
That's their choice. It was discussed whether or not a clock should be mandatory. It is not. It's not even explicitly mentioned in the rules pack. There's an option for it if they want, but I believe there's only really 1 or 2 tables each round that have opted to use a clock. I thought about it, but overwhelmingly people were lukewarm, indifferent, and if it would have been an expectation from the front, from the start, then probably would have, but it came up 4 weeks ago, and registration was going for a month and a half at that point, so I didn't want to spring it on them at that point. So
Okay. And I think what we just saw happen there was Richard shot at Kyle's dragon with lightning bolt, did 3 wounds, and then put a 3 up in the top left corner as his running total of victory points.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, how they were going to track that. That's a smart way to do it.
Right.
What do you get for killing the opponent's dragon? Is it just they can't score anymore?
So 2 things, actually. This gets to, like I said, the scoring structure. 1, the dragon, as you can see on the bottom scroll, the armies are 2,200 points. The dragon is worth 400. So by killing it, you get a pretty good chunk of points for kill. The additional points, other than the 15.5, there's 3 secondary bonus objective points that you get for various other things throughout. That's not just how much did your dragon do. The 3 bonus points in this scenario, if you kill your opponent's dragon, if it ever dies, you get 2 bonus points. But if your dragon is the one that killed it in melee, you get a 3rd bonus point. So, which is doubly punishing, because at that point, their dragon's dead. So however many wounds that they've scored at that point, that's their total.
That's their cap, yeah.
Yeah, so for scoring for this scenario, like I said, it is a sliding scale, and it goes between, if the difference in wounds impacted, let's say, is 0, that's a pure tie. Then from 1 to 9 is the sliding scale for ±5. So 1 to 2 is 1, 3 to 4 is 2, 5 to 6 is 3, 7 to 8 is 4, and 9 or greater is 5.
Okay. Okay, interesting. And did you design these terrain maps yourself?
I did, yes. I mean, they're loosely based on. So this one is kind of a special case, but they're loosely based on Epic Dwarf. This one's definitely much more of a homemade creation. The major complaint across 2, kind of 3 rounds of playtesting for this scenario specifically was it is incredibly easy to have your dragon accidentally die if your opponent brings 3 to 5 mortars. So, granted, the response I typically had was, well, then be aware of that and don't deploy stupidly.
Sure.
But even across multiple rounds, it was still noted that it is potentially a concern if such a list exists, which we do have 2 goblin lists that have 4 indirect, which Molotov launcher, whether or not that's really going to kill a dragon, but big rock thrower is threatening enough that it can spike hot over 2 rounds. That, yeah. Sure. Which, basically,
and in fairness to that, like if you go up against somebody with 3 to 5 indirect fire war machines before the cover changes in Clash 2021 and Halpi's Rift, it's possible that you could lose any scenario in the first 2 turns before you've done anything, like regardless of what the scenario is, if they roll hot. So
very true.
That's more of like a Kings of War criticism than a this scenario criticism.
It's very true, and that's kind of why I was very hesitant to answer the problem with terrain. But with it being a complaint across multiple rounds of playtesting, I figured, fine, I will make it much more difficult to get a clean line of sight unless you explicitly, intentionally deploy with those angles. Which there's still opportunity to do that. I mean, where Kyle has deployed his dragon, if there were 3 balefires, straight across the field, they could have sat right there and shot him turn 1 still. Sure. He could have hid behind that forest or behind other things. I mean, there's places to hide, but by turn 2, that dragon should not. It should still be a target. Now, I would say that if we were using the Clash 21 changes, which we are not, and that's purely because they came out a week ago. So with the immediacy before the event, we didn't have time, I felt, to make sure that everyone was comfortable and knowledgeable of all the changes. So we stuck with vanilla 3rd edition. If we were using those changes, those modifications to indirect, then this board would look different.
That would make sense. Yeah, I mean it's a nicely full table of terrain, and we have 2 armies that don't have a whole lot of shooting and only moderately care about terrain facing off against each other. So I think should be interesting what they.
It is really interesting to me because these 2 lists, I agree with both what Kyle and what Richard were saying when they were talking about their lists of there are beat stickier lists out there, but Kyle's is pretty much an unstoppable force type build. And Richard's is very much an unmovable object type build. So it's really a question of which one's going to break first.
Yeah, definitely the first couple of turns, if Kyle just decides to go all in and run across the field and try to punch a hole someplace, it'll be interesting to see whether he manages to break through or bounces off and gets stalled or what. But I suspect they're not going to waste any time getting into it. So do any of the other commentators have any other questions for Mark while we've got him here before he's got to go do his TO stuff?
Sure.
Feel like we covered everything?
Yeah. Seems
cool.
like.
All right. Well, I'm going to tap out then and go do more clerical work. But if you got questions for me, go ahead and ping me and I'll answer them as soon as I can.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Did you already throw a link to the scenario in the chat?
Not in the one we were just in, but I can put it there now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Good luck. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That was Mark Taylor, the TO of the event, giving us the inside scoop. All right, guys. So, what do we think? These guys are. Richard moved up a little bit, but not much, and sent a lightning bolt across. And Kyle is pretty much barreling across the table. What do you think we're about to see here?
I mean, Kyle was talking about he wanted an army he didn't have to think too hard about. I mean, you picked the one. Varnger does not involve a whole lot of thinking.
I love Kyle's intro. I never play this army, and I wasn't even going to do this event. I don't even know why I'm here. Like, how'd how did this happen? It's like,
I
wow,
end
I
up on
mean,
the top table. Yeah.
right? I mean, you look at your list, it's like, wow, we all kind of know how this happened. I mean,
Right.
yes, the army kind of plays itself. Don't tell Bentley that, but right? Run across.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I mean, there's no
It's-
S tier, so obviously it's garbage. I mean,
obviously.
no
Especially
F tier.
it's that classic sort of get the excuses in beforehand.
Right.
Yes,
And it's,
I'm
I
good
mean,
at that,
it's
I'm
a
the
dick
lord of that.
kicker list,
right?
right? Like we know both of these lists are hard. Both of
Yes.
these lists are sort of nasty options. They kind of like, oh, I'm just taking this and this, but each piece sort of fits together and punches stuff in the face. I'm just still a little confused. Like looking at this as normal kill, I have to sort of clear that from my mind for this sort of weird modified super dragon kill.
Yeah.
And I'm still really not sure. It just seems really scary to have a ensnare phalanx dragon that's shooting lightning bolt 9
Right.
and giving Strider aura. Like, I mean, all the dragons you could build out of this. I took a look at the pack, and you can build some broken dragons, and that's the point.
Right.
But man, that Strider aura feels scary in this current board setup.
This table. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, to be honest, I know that there was some heartburn from one of the players before the game started, but I look at this table and I go, that's a standard Northeast tournament table.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's I would be able to use the terrain to effective use, and it wouldn't hurt too bad. But I also don't play an army that's an Alpha Strike army. Right.
Right.
Oh. No.
Yeah, I actually heard him complaining before I saw the map and thought it was going to be worse. I have a question though. That hill, the hill in the sort of center of Richard's refused flank,
Mhm.
Yes.
which I'm assuming the hill.
That's a hell yeah.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
creates this sort of big bubble in the middle there. That's actually open ground, except for the fact he can charge down off of it and hit pretty hard. So
Yep.
like while it appears like there's a ton of terrain, there's that big bubble in the middle that
Right.
he's sort of
Right.
advancing into, trying to take that ground so that whatever charges at him is coming out of terrain and is hindered.
Right.
But-
But is he actually on? Any of these units actually on that hill right now?
Not right
Doesn't
now,
look like it.
Not entirely.
Nope.
Yeah.
which is I think a missed opportunity. Which now he gets to regret. He gets to if he had moved up in such a way that he could be on the hill and then charge off it, that would have made Kyle, at least because Kyle's a very good player, he would have stood back a little bit. Not only is he taking the ground, but also he doesn't want to get charged. Right now, looks like Richard has lost that advantage. But maybe
Also-
he'll gain it now. You know?
Also interesting to point out, we're talking about the terrain. There's no obstacles anywhere on this table, right? We've got
No.
three
Right.
short pieces of difficult. We've got four blocking terrain. We got 3 forests, and just 1 hill. And so Pathfinder and Strider are basically the same on this table, except Pathfinder's faster.
Right.
That's an interesting choice.
I'm a big fan of random fences out in the middle of nowhere. So
It does help, especially with Strider.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the only thing that gates that. So. Am I correct in saying that? No.
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, right?
Yeah. Obstacle list tables are Pathfinder's
Right.
dreams because
right.
they don't care about any of that terrain.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm running through all of it.
Might as well not have any terrain. This is amazing.
Might as well not. Basically, like, what are you talking about? It's an open field. I don't see anything. It's a problem.
I was when I was playing the herd.
So there is something. I mean, the deployment is interesting. The undead have castled up. They shuffled forward at the beginning. But this is a case. I mean, anyone who played dwarves in Warhammer recognizes this deployment pretty clearly. This is anchor on difficult terrain, anchor on the board edge on the other side. If you have something to protect, literally throw it in the corner, which it looks like he has done. He has protected as sort of cheap throwaway units because they are now just meat for the dragon.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about taking the hill. I'm not sure he's taking another step forward until he has to.
Right.
He's got a tiny bit
he's
of
got
shooting.
He's got Lightning Bolt 9 versus a guy that's got no long range shooting at all. So
Yeah, and that's
Three
that
wounds.
classic where you think, oh, I don't have much shooting, and then you face someone with none, and sometimes you fall into the trap of saying like, well, now I need to shoot as much as possible. So hopefully he's not falling into that trap, and he's actually using it effectively for a little bit of advantage in this scoring. It could definitely be a big advantage, but that undead is, or those Varangur are gonna get close pretty soon. We'll see.
They're gonna om nom nom.
Yeah, I mean, you can refuse flank all day, but it's a 6-7 turn game, right? I mean,
But he's the difference between him and Warhammer Dwarves is that they're buzzsaws when you get there. Soul
like,
Reaver infantry.
right with sharpness, like this is a counterpunch army. Like this,
It's amazing,
this wants you to
right?
come and try to kill Revcav or try to kill some Wraiths, and then get like a surge flank from a White Horde or just Soul Reaver infantry
right.
right down your throat.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is like a hammer going against an anvil with another hammer waiting behind it. And,
Mikey.
Hammer behind the anvil. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a comment too. Can we all agree, at least on this side of the fence, that should be using clocks at every event from here on out?
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, have
fine with
we evolved to a point where we should be using clocks in a virtual environment to match the gameplay on the table, please?
I think so.
You know what I mean? Plug for the Dash 28 clock,
If only
It might
somebody
be
had created an
created.
online
Yeah, somebody-
clock for
right? I mean, it's so
Huddle.
simple to use. Whoo, right? But I
Yeah.
just, right? I actually really like the fact that Richard said, "I'm building this army in real life."
Right. He's building
Right.
it for his actual tabletop.
Yeah, I mean, he is
Yeah.
using an army in a virtual environment because he's forced to, but he's ready. Next year, it's time to go on a table.
Right.
Shake
Yep.
hands, move the trees out of the way. How tall is this? I mean, that's coming.
I say that for every army I play on UB, regardless of how filthy and skewed. Oh yeah, I'm totally building this in
This-
real life.
This is totally happening.
For
My fifth army out.
long axe horde army that I'm totally doing
Right.
right now.
I've got
Totally
a
building.
140 Draugr and 6 giants on the paint table right now.
Totally happening.
It's totally fine.
You're just waiting for your airbrush to come in. And, done.
Amazing.
There you go. Just remember, just contrast paints. Just all contrast paints.
All contrast paints. There you go. Base coat with an airbrush, contrast paint. You're done.
So do you think that based off of Kyle's deployment, Richard's basically banking on half of his army, or like a third of Kyle's army, not really getting there until turn, 3 to much do anything?
Right. I actually think that if I was Richard, I would be hoping that Kyle gets antsy because of the lightning bolt and some other options and goes in waves. If
Right.
Kyle is patient and sends everybody in turn 4 or 5, then Richard's got a problem. You can't heal everything, right? So we'll have to see, right? The question is Kyle going to feel some pressure? Because as the game goes on, notice a little number 3 up there. That's going to turn into a 9. That's going to turn into a 12, right? And meanwhile, the other person has scored 0 by turn 3 or 4, and maybe Kyle pushes, right?
So that's going to be weakness cast from one of the necromancers onto one of the lords on Frostfang.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean a defense 5 or 6 list with 2 guys with weakness, pretty good combo, gotta say. Looks like we're shooting at the dragon again. With Lightning 9, he'll have cover because the Frostfangs are in front. But
I'll tell you what.
it's interesting that he hasn't shot the Snow Foxes when that seemed like the obvious target.
No, I think he's looking at the scenario and he's playing the scenario. Dash 19 on the
Yeah.
other guy's dragon. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
start putting wounds on it now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what I would do, right?
So besides giving it to himself, is there any reason why? Was this Kyle's? No, hold on. No, wrong one. Never mind.
He was so nonplussed
What
he
just
left.
happened?
That's weird.
Yep.
Come back, Felix.
Yeah, Felix doesn't want to show anyone that when he looks up rules, he actually has to sacrifice baby kittens in his murder basement. So he turned off for that. He's got to keep his good guy image. But the thing to remember, right, is like none of this matters except for bonus points or attrition score. It's just what your dragon does, right?
Yeah.
And I'm right in looking. None of the dragons have Cloak of Death, right?
No, right. That is correct.
No.
Which would be amazing in this. So, sort of Kyle's entire army is here to set up charges for his dragon that they can win, protect the dragon, and then charge something else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like
the other side,
his dragon wants to flank charge that zombie horde in the back so bad, right?
yeah, and on the other side, he just wants to lightning bolt all game and not die.
Right.
And maybe I mean it's still a 10 attack dragon, but it only hits on 4s. It's Crush 2, Thunderous 1. So like it's kind of a big Kingdoms of Men king on flying beast for him right now. That just shoots. So it's two very different takes on what the dragon is.
Absolutely.
And in this scenario, God, like you have to play it so different because what you really want to do is just beat the heck out of the other people with your dragon, and everything else there is an enabler. So whatever charges he's making, that dragon has to be part of it or setting up for a next one. But the fact that it's already just getting shot in the face so much and has nowhere to hide.
Right. I mean, well, that's Richard playing the scenario at this point. I mean, and then Kyle really, like we talk about when it comes to shooting, the shooting its advantage is it can speed up your opponent's clock. And Kyle might think, okay, how many turns can this dragon do nothing for me points wise and give free points to my opponent without me charging in with him while I set up my army?
I mean, for me, maybe
I'm going to guess he wanted that answer to be 2, but it's going to be 3.
Yes, at least.
Right. But like I said, even then, that's speeding up his clock. Like he probably wanted to, like we said, like turn 4, then just lottie-dottie everybody into Richard's line and start, just smashing things in. But, at this point, he just can't sit there all game and just take, just give up 4 free points and even more.
But the
3 and 4.
The change here compared to normal is that, I don't know, it depends on the strategy, but normally you would want to set up, hit everything at once, overwhelm the line, break as much as possible, and don't let them counterpunch. There's a world here where he doesn't care as much about that, where he starts at one flank or one side and starts Pac-Manning one at a time. And it's okay that he loses his entire army while he's doing that, and that part of Kyle's army survives because every one of those combats had the dragon in it doing wounds and not getting attacked back.
Right, but the funny thing about that, Brenton, is if he was going to do that from the start, and I understand that he mentioned he didn't realize there were a huge flank until about halfway through. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. There you go. One bolt. I have lost my train of thought, but it would be nice.
Steve Hildrew, you're a bad man. You're a bad man.
I'll gladly take 4 as being the worst because I've had to trim my beard up.
I cut mine off because it's about to be winter, right? So you got to start with the minimal and then see where it goes.
Out, right?
Winter is coming. Got it.
Winter is coming.
I think I regained my thought. So if the dragon right now, Kyle's dragon is placed in the center.
Yep.
It would be nice if he was going to do that. I think the best way to protect against an army that doesn't have a lot of shooting is go on one flank or the other. The last thing you want to do is stick it in the middle and then get the Malachi crunch. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he has taken the first 2 turns to move to a side or the other, either to do threatening. And like he's moved up a little bit now. He's just kind of hanging out, waiting to get zapped again.
Yeah. Like with this Varangur army, like you really want to push everybody up, start grinding with everyone, and then just have the dragon walk down the flank and eat one unit at a time, like Britton was saying.
Right.
Yep.
I sort of feel like, I mean, we knew he was going to do a refused flank, right? Like, look at the board. There's a piece of difficult terrain, right? That's difficult terrain, sort of near his middle.
Accurate, Steve. Accurate.
He has this piece of difficult terrain sort of sitting there because that's difficult, right? Not impassable, or
yes, yeah. There's nothing impassable on the table.
Okay. So
Right.
he's got that piece sitting there. You know, he's
No,
not going
these
to want
are-
to
these
sit
are
in it.
impassable. These
He's gonna
nines
wanna
are
s-
impassable.
Are
He's
they?
going to want to anchor
Yeah.
his flank on something. It's just, I don't know. It looked to me like that was a deployment. He was going to squeeze on one side or the other, and it's not going to be the tiny side with the little spermy river. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Kyle's central placement, I think he was hedging his bets and trying not to let his dragon be somewhere it couldn't influence, but it's not good.
Right.
What-
Little
It's
It's just
spermy
a
river.
counter attack.
I think that's a geographic location in Ohio somewhere, maybe Indiana. The little spermy river.
Did someone cheat?
Those-
Did we just figure out that those were impassable and they just realized?
That
I think
really
he decided he
is.
didn't like it.
Holy schmoly! Right? This is why you
It's
need
like,
pots.
no, screw this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, way too much thought. Let's just go right in.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, for the
Turn
for the
two
choice
is-
of sides, like if you've got a dragon that gives you a Strider aura and you're seeing a whole lot of Cav without Pathfinder on the other side of the table, like yes, I will castle up on the side of the table between a big rock and in the middle of a forest.
Yeah,
Like it
totally should.
makes pretty good sense to me,
Right.
and I can understand why he wouldn't
Also-
want the other side. You know,
I also think sacrificing those snow foxes or getting in a place to sacrifice them is good. Because again, there's a 9 lightning bolt on the table whose only job is to pick up points, to do damage.
Right.
And that's how he wins the game. And like I'm looking at those snow foxes, a fucking pinata. like
right?
just light them up and collect the candy.
Right, because I mean, their
Um,
defense too. Sure, they're stealthy, but lightning bolt won't give a crap about that. So,
Yep.
It does not.
Here's
So
a question,
getting them
mean,
off the board and
Yeah, I mean
the
that
rest
would
of the
be
board
the thing
is
to do, right? Britt and I totally agree. That's the thing to do. The dragon should be zapping the snow foxes, comma, if the scenario didn't reward you for zapping the other guy's dragon in the face.
Oh yeah, no, I think
Right?
right,
This is
if
my
it was to
thought.
straight
Well, certainly-
kill, then yeah,
Certainly,
If
the
the
first
dragon-
turn where the dragon didn't have cover, like definitely shoot the dragon.
if
Right?
the dragon is available, you shoot it. If the dragon is harder to hit, you hit the pinata. So
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
the free point pinata.
And last turn, I think both of the foxes were in cover as well. So he was like, "Screw it, they're all in cover. Keep shooting the dragon."
Right. The assumption being, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. He's got them locked up and everybody's moved up, but you see how what is that? A unit of rates on the far right side?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of hanging out, not locked down, has free reign to do whatever it feels like. You know?
Yep.
That's an interesting spot.
Has free range to get like surge into the rear of some fallen next turn.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, right?
It can't get behind them.
right,
No.
Not new wraiths. You might be thinking old wraiths.
right.
yeah,
'cause they
new
can
race
only
can't
go
do it.
14 inches, right?
Yeah.
These are still old rates though. They're not playing with the rules update.
No, I mean
No,
V2
third ed right.
V2 movement 10 versus.
Oh, sure.
Right. They,
Right.
yeah, they don't move nearly as fast.
So I do want to bring up really quickly. Dragonfall is sort of a giant charity event. It's sort of morphed over the years of running it, and it's now hugely about charity. They've already raised something like $2,200 in the weekend, and during the stream, they're going to try and hit 2,500. And if they do, someone from the chat gets a $50 Grognard card. So
Gartner Games, nice.
in chat, there's a link, or you can go to the Dragonfall. I'm sure it's all in there. We got a guy in here talking about it if you have any questions, but feel free to donate to the foundation and they'll be giving away if we can break that number, which I hope we can. So
Nice.
That's awesome. Where does the money go? What's the charity for?
honestly, I didn't look that up. Something
It goes to
worthy.
it goes to the Send Felix's Kids to College Fund.
Weird fun.
It does not.
Seems like
But we can
Damn it.
I can find
Super
out. I can
specific.
find out what it goes to.
yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Report back.
It's totally awesome.
I'm gonna do some research. It's not actually going for my kids.
Extra. It's going to Extra Life,
Oh,
which
Extra
if
Life.
people don't know is
That's
a,
awesome.
Yeah.
Life, that's good.
Cool.
Well, if someone can explain Extra Life for the viewers that don't know.
Yeah, so Extra Life is essentially and Doctors Without Borders, just in case you hate Extra Life. And no one should hate Doctors Without Borders. But I don't know. My view of Extra Life, I've donated a bunch with Extra Life and done stuff through my work for years. What I basically view it as is, those like run around a track for however many laps, or like charity running events or charity whatever, where people donate and you have to walk a bunch of miles.
Right.
Yeah, that's for a bunch of fucking jocks. Extra Life is basically that version, but for gaming, where people sign up, they game for a certain amount of time. The amount they game, the levels they beat, whatever their individual challenges are, you get people to donate for that activity.
Right.
And then it's grown that to be this bigger and bigger charity, which is awesome. But it's basically a chance, like, you can sit there and game all weekend and get people to donate for, every hour of Mario Kart you play, they'll donate some amount of money. And it's great. So.
All right, so the Snow
What we
Foxes
got-
went in and did 2 damage to the Revenant Horde, which of course isn't going to bother them.
That's actually pretty good for Snow Foxes.
For
It's
Snow Foxes, yeah.
5s and 5s. So
That won't be there in a minute.
Well-
And now, top of Undead Turn 3, we have that Wraith Regiment we were pointing out on the right side, going into some cav and some woods. They're Striders, so they won't care.
right.
And same's on the other side, going into some Fallen. So basically just holding back the corners with some Defense 6. How's their nerve? Really good.
Where's Magnil?
Dash 16. She is
Center,
right there.
Right there. Okay.
ready to go cause some trouble.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, hoping
and then
there's just enough space to slip in on the dragon, probably.
Yeah, that's exactly
And then-
it, right?
There's 2 baby. Yeah, he's got to watch that, because if she can stick that dragon in place, then he can start charging with everything else.
Or even just turning off Lightning Bolt for a couple of turns.
And then the 2, the 2 Lords on Frostfangs are facing the middle and freed up to sort of. Good lord! I mean, if
Good lord on Frostfang.
if those Frostfangs double charge anything with a mounted Suns, I mean, actually no, we got spicy attacks. He's
Wow.
throwing it all out there.
See, and you said they weren't going to go anywhere. Holy schmoly.
I said
I'm
until they
surprised.
charged.
Oh, yeah, noted. All right.
Well, I mean, that's
I hedged hard.
that's kind of playing this scenario as well, right? Because like his dragon is really all that matters. So he's just throwing everything up ahead to, prevent,
Maybe.
well, maybe.
Yeah, but the thing
the-
you want to avoid is an easy counter charge with that dragon into, Lightning Bolt 9's cool, but 12 attacks on crushing whatever it has is cooler.
Yeah.
So it's going to outdo the damage of the ranged dragon in combat if it gets to fight every turn
Right.
or multiple turns. So you don't want to give it easy stuff.
Right.
Unpunishable, like a double charge. But
Right.
we'll see. So I think he's thinking about that right now. What I will say is this is a weird ass scenario with some weird custom built dragons.
And some weird terrain.
You either love that or you hate that.
Yeah.
Personally, I like to see it. I like to see events have different rules, different boards, different scenarios, so that they're not all the same and they're
Right, it's
less
different.
predictable.
Yeah.
I like that there are straight out of the book events kicking around out there, and I like that there's weird, wacky, build your own dragon events, and it's your choice as a sort of consumer of the tournament scene to pick what you want to see.
Right.
So yeah. But personally, if I got to final game top table, I would be my brain would explode trying to play out this dragon matters only. I'm not smart enough for this.
Well, I mean, at this point, I think if I was Richard, I would have sent my dragon with these wraiths into the Fallen, because you're behind this big height 9 blocking terrain and nothing can see you.
Mhm.
Right? You can go get some easy points and kind of be on the flank of his army.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking, is that I feel like with those wraiths, there was a real chance to sort of double charge something that's not as strong and maybe start to do real damage to it. But we'll see. It's just a question of when you commit it, because if you lose that dragon, your point total is your point total. And
Yep.
Right. So this is where I play armchair. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have an opinion kind of guy. So I agree with that. If that dragon doesn't go in over there, then that dragon should be nestled right behind the Anvil of Revenants.
Right.
Just snuggled right in there. So no one can get in there, no one can mess with him, and he's always like an inch behind or half an inch, and who cares?
Right.
And then
And,
Kyle's
and
guy
you're lightning
has to-
bolting these guys.
Yes, and Kyle's guy has to be in a position where he can charge something. Right now, Richard has run forward with all of his units and given Kyle a bunch of options. But if he didn't do that, it would have been another turn where Kyle's dragon's way in the back, hanging out, feeling all singed, and not really able to charge anything. Right? It's just weird. And I think it's one of those things where if I sat down at this table and was like, okay, I just played four rounds with this army, and now I have to worry about the only thing that matters is the dragon. Like you said, Britton, having to switch that in my brain would be very hard because the army plays the way it plays until now, right? And maybe that's what we're seeing here. You know,
I remember that on one of the international campaign days, there was a scenario in which every time you sort of hit someone, you gave them like a mark, and they gave you a mark back. They hit you, and the goal was to sort of like end the game with the most of those marks. And it was something like that. But basically, the point was, I read the scenario and was like, well, I know how to win this, and I took like 3 mounted individuals. And they got the mark each, and then they all just ran to the corner of the board and hid. And I was like, "Yeah, I win." And the guy was like, "Wow, so I guess we're not really playing Kings of War." And I felt really bad, but it's a similar thing. Like he hadn't shifted his mindset at all to the scenario. He was still just trying to stomp my units, and all I cared about was getting the marks on these individuals and then getting them the heck out of town and sacrificing the rest of the army.
Right, and that's kind of the big problem with sitting down and designing your own scenarios from scratch, is that you as the TO are thinking about all the cool ways that people are going to engage with each other, and then someone shows up and looks at that scenario and says, no, the most winning move here is not to play, so that's what I'm going to do. And people are like, oh, this scenario was lame because he didn't stand there and fight me like you thought he would naively do. But,
It's war games.
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
But this one is interesting. It's interesting to see because it's sort of how you built your dragon has a huge effect on what your dragon is able or willing to do. Like I said, if one of these had Cloak of Death, like that'd be so interesting to see it just trying to fly around and never fight and just Cloak of Death as many units as possible.
Just get within
every
6
round.
inches of as many enemy units as possible.
Fly behind 3 of them and sit there. Just,
but then, like, you don't even, you as an army don't even care how many you lose as long as you can kill that dragon. So you're turning around your entire army to face and chase the dragon, which is horrible in a normal game. But in this game, if you can get one of them in on it, it works. So,
but only for the last round of the tournament.
Yep.
Right. This is we're looking at it from the last round. I mean, what has been going on before this?
Right.
You know, I actually
What's been going on before this is Undead have been doing undead things and Verb and things in the dick, apparently.
Right, exactly.
Noted. Right. It is very interesting that the dragons were built in such a way to reinforce what the armies are good at.
Yep.
It's not like they went opposite. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Richard was like, all right, so if the whole thing grinds, this dragon's going to grind too, instead of being like, I need an Alpha Strike puncher. You know?
Hey, Mike, can you click on that Lord on Frostbank on the far right? I just want to see something.
Yeah.
See it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I just want to see if they're inspiring. So, but the Lords are very inspiring. So yeah, that Mounted Suns Regiment on the right's covered. So
covered, yeah. The one fighting the wraiths in the woods.
Yeah.
Okay. Shooting. So I think we're going to see weakness probably being cast on those. Fallen.
I mean, that's the thing. If he double charged that with the dragon, put the dragon in a safe spot, and then weakness them, like those Fallen are punching with kid gloves at that point.
Right, because they lose their crushing essentially.
And they're trying to, if they try and hit the dragon, which is phalanx and snare, like I just wish that was into something like eating things right now. I know the lightning bolt plan is cool, but
It's boring. That's what it is. Just
Well,
say it's boring.
It's 2 or 3 points a turn, as opposed to getting 3 points, having nothing attack you back, and then turning for flank charges later.
Yeah.
Right. Potential stays the same every round. So, is it me, or does the middle Lord on Frostfang have a clear line of sight to charge the dragon?
I mean, you should.
No, he does.
Right? I mean, why would Rich give that up? Is he doing that on purpose?
Plus, he's got Strider, so it really doesn't matter. So it's just whatever.
Yeah.
Just charge it
Right,
on
but-
in.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I it feels like there's a lot that charge that dragon or is going to
Yeah,
be
but
able to.
I think he kind of measured where he put his Goreblight here to kind of screw up the multi-charge potential
Right.
that Kyle has on the dragon. And there's the Soul Reavers here and the Whites here. So I think at this point he's like, my dragon is not going to die to a single charge. So go ahead and come over here and hit me, and then I'm going to counter punch you with all I've got in the game.
Yeah, I'll eat everything else up. Yeah.
Is the second Frostfang in range?
No, I don't think so.
Can we check Frostfang on the right?
6, 9, 12, 15. Just out of 16. So
Yeah, but it's a 15-inch charge range on the Lords on Frostfang. So
okay. So it's out.
Yep.
So it's Magnild or the Frostfang can go in. Or Magnild can go into the Soul Reaver and the Frostfang can go into it.
Magnild can't see the Soul Reavers over the hill.
Okay.
right.
But whatever it does, the Goreblight's going into the flank next round if he doesn't.
Right. The Goreblight is going to Cloak of Death and flank anything, and if he needs
so
to
he's
to do it, it will.
the dragon right now is out there being like, "Ooh, charge me!"
Come get me. Right.
And also scoring 0 on its lightning bolts.
Yeah.
But Kyle-
it didn't do any this turn. It came up empty this turn.
Well, I mean, but it's already got 4 more up on
Is Kyle's dragon out of range?
No, I'm pretty sure Kyle's Dragon's in, right? 3, 6, 12, 15. Yeah, he's in. Like, it's going to be dragon on dragon. Dragon plus something. But I think the way it's arranged is it's going to be a dragon and a weakened Frostfang instead of, like, a dragon and Mounted Suns.
Yeah, no, I get that. But his dragon is... I just want
hanging
this.
out there.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want it for tactical reasons. I just want him to charge the Frostfang into the Soul Reavers, Nild into the Goreblight, and the Mounted Suns into the Whites on the left, and then just let it be Mortal Dragon combat for like 3 rounds. And if he dies, he dies. And that's it. Like, that's what I miss the old Warhammer where 2 dragons would fly high and like halfway through the game one would win and come back to the table like, I won, I'm now lord of the battlefield. Like, just do it.
12 wounds to that Snow Fox troop. So
So much for the Snow Fox.
Well, I mean, that's what should have happened, right?
Yeah, the Wraith regiments have done a nice steady 4 wounds each on each end there, and the Dragon Lord did 2 wounds to the Fallen just to keep them in place. So now what do you do with these Revenants? Do you sidestep them towards the Dragon to try to screw up the double charge options? Do you walk them forward a little bit?
I wouldn't walk them forward because there's always that potential of that fallen horde or whatever killing that whatever individual and moving into a flank. You don't want that. But he looks like he's not doing anything with them, so he's opting not to move them. So
yeah,
interesting.
I think I might move them. Over a little bit to make sure that the Soul Reaver infantry can get by. But I guess the dragon's kind of sort of already in the way, so they have to.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking, Mike. Give him a little bit of space to move.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Kyle's seeing for nimble shenanigans.
Yep.
What's happening?
Yep.
Does he have a flank charge there? What?
I imagine he would if you click on
Might
that.
be at this game.
Right.
What happened?
Well, click the fallen on the right. Let me see something.
Where's he going?
It's the left. It's the Fallen on the left.
On the left. I mean,
right?
No,
I
there's
thought that was impassable down below him. So
below him it is impassable, but the forest isn't, and a necromancer isn't mighty, so you can run through them. But I don't know how he's going to get around both the Whites and the Wraiths.
I don't either, unless
Yeah, what
they're
is happening
forgetting.
here?
That's what I was
Yes,
thinking.
he-
He was doing the one on the right because I didn't see a way in on the left ones as well.
Yeah,
Um,
like
I
he
think-
can't fit past the table edge there. Yeah.
I think we've determined it's not going to work at about the same time they've determined it's not going to work.
Right?
yeah.
But now we get to
He's
all
over
be
there
like, I
like-
kyle from the beginning that wasn't going to work.
Totally.
Kyle's over there like praying to Patrick Zora Allen, like show me the way to nimble this.
It's funny
Right.
when I said I don't know. It's mostly because I'm bad at the game, but I just don't. I don't play an army that has nimble as a thing, so I don't see those charges. Right.
Yeah, nimble. It's actually something interesting, and this is not at all. Rossi talks a bunch about how bad a player he is, but he's actually really good. But it's self-deprecating humor.
The best
But the
kind.
truth is, nimble is one of those great rules where it's a high skill cap. Like the better you are at the game, the better
Right.
nimble units perform. Which
Yeah.
is why when you see someone put nimble on like Soul Reavers or you put nimble on something else that's already a good unit, you're like, I get a little more scared because I'm like, this guy's not going for the easy like hit on twos or the +1 strength. He's going for the movement ability. That's
Right.
flexing. That's good.
Okay.
Dragon's going in.
Going in the front on a -17 White Horde inspired.
Well,
The
looks like a
Necromancer.
Warlord.
The Gore Blight's the same defense and nerve, dude. It doesn't
Right.
matter which one you hit. You got the same chances of breaking them.
Yeah.
He's just window shopping at this point.
I mean,
Oh God, is that the
Mm-hmm.
Soul Reavers?
It is.
Oh,
well, they can at
God.
least get wavered.
No, he's got a Fury Aura on his dragon.
oh, he does. So, yeah.
no.
So not as good. Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. You better break them. You're not going to break them either.
What? He's
Right.
teasing me. He's going into
Right?
every
Yeah,
unit
he's
but
playing with my
Dragon.
emotions right now as a Northern Alliance player. Just like, what are you doing,
Go
Ah.
go into the dragon. Do the dragon.
dude?
Or hell, like hit the Vampire Lord if you can. Why not? Then turn and just barely be out of the other dragon's arc.
Yes.
Maybe
We're
Soul
not out
Reavers
of
will be able to
the
see you.
Soul Reavers, and that's
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
that-
but you can cut
get
them
to a
off.
dragon.
You can no, not into
And undo.
stuff that can hurt you.
He's just undoing
Not
right
into
now. It's
stuff
okay.
that can hurt you.
It's okay.
No,
It's
he's-
okay. Just breathe.
He's cascading back. Boodle-doo, boodle-doo, boodle-doo.
So at this point, he's like window shopped every potential charge and realized that
Right.
none of them are good ideas.
I do that. Not as obviously,
Fine.
but in my mind. When I'm just sitting there
Sure.
in the tank. When I'm sitting there in the tank, I'm going, no.
I can do that, but then I die next turn. And then I can do
Right.
this, but then I die next turn.
Mike,
You can
that's
do this.
exactly what I do.
I die next
Right?
turn. Never
But I
mind.
say it out loud, and I'm looking at the other person to see which one he doesn't want. Right? I'm like, oh.
Hmm. Oh, geez. Okay, so someone has asked what the scenario is. So we will try to briefly explain what the scenario is. So this is
boy.
a this is a GT.
I think he's trolling us.
Who is it? Who is it?
Please,
Pop
please
quiz.
explain the scenario some more times for us.
So for this GT, you get a Dragon Living Legend with a bunch of optional rules that you get to pick and choose a couple of them to put on them. And for this scenario, you get a victory point for every wound that your dragon either causes or every wound that your dragon heals if you gave it like heal or life leech or iron resolve or whatever. So it's basically all about like what your dragon's output is. And currently it is 4-0 Richard, because Richard's been lightning bolting because he put lightning bolt 9 on his dragon. And Kyle hasn't been able to get his into combat yet. But it's only the bottom of turn 3. And, turn 3 is the turn when stuff happens. So we'll see if Kyle can score some points here this turn, or if he steps into a really bad situation
Yep.
and
then-
loses on the next turn.
The secondary objective, which Kyle is ignoring, much to my sadness, if you rout your opponent's dragon, you gain 2 BP. In addition, if your opponent's dragon living legend is routed in melee while engaged with your dragon living legend, you gain an additional BP. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dragon on dragon combat, Mark, is only worth 1 battle point when it should be worth like 100.
Because that's cinematic, as we all know.
It's totally cinematic.
Yes.
Right? Going around here.
So I kind of like that vampire charge. I don't know about the rest of you. The dragon into the vampire,
Out of all the options, I actually think that's pretty good. The thing that I'd
and
be
then
nervous about,
you just plug up the revenants, you plug up some other stuff, and get some wounds. This guy needs to start scoring points.
the Lord on Frostfang has a skull on him, the one in the middle.
Yeah,
It's weakness.
weakness.
Okay,
he's only
understood.
crushed 2 now. So
Oh
there's that.
shucks! Whatever will he do?
So there goes Magnilled into the dragon to turn
Yeah.
off lightning bolts.
Yeah, I've laughed when people try to weakness my Lord on Frostfang. It's like, oh darn, only crushed 2 now.
Right, shucks.
Whatever will
And
I do?
I was only joking about the trolling. It was just I 100% did not understand the scenario, and I had to go back and read it in the scenario book to understand. I get it.
It's an interesting thing too, is so far as you get points for you get points for all the wounds you do, and you get points for all the wounds you heal, and that's
Right.
pretty cool, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's required because some people could have built their dragons with
healing
the
dragon,
options available to be super just full support dragons, like
Right.
giant phoenixes.
Right,
Yeah.
you do the whole you have the radiance of life, and then maybe some heal, whatever. Yeah, I could, it'd be amazing. But
Yeah.
just
And that
not
actually
enough
would be
damage.
really interesting to see in this one, where you're like, I'm just going to fight as normal and just try and fight as much stuff as possible so I can heal.
Right.
And your opponent's
Yeah.
like backing away from you, like, no, I'm not even going to do wounds to you that you can iron resolve, bro.
Yeah, I don't like that charge.
So for those not aware, Mike plays with a bunch of these units on the undead side. So every charge here, he's thinking like, oh, I'd love him to do that. I'd love him to
Please.
do that to me.
Because that Gorblight, like, one, it's got Cloak of Death, and two, it's on that perfect 50 mil square where, like, once combat starts, it'll turn and go and corkscrew or get surged into wherever it wants. Like, you can't stop it from charging things.
It's
Yeah.
maddening.
So the
like,
interesting thing,
throwing your dragon into those whites would basically just means the Gorbite flank charges it next turn.
Yep.
Um,
unless he pops the whites, or unless he pops the Gore Blight with the Mounted Suns, are they unhindered on that charge?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if they were quite touching those woods or no.
Because unhindered, I mean, I haven't played with them in a little while, and I know they got marginally worse in V2, but or V3. But like, should they pop a Gore Blight in one round?
It's defense 5 and dash 17, so like defensively, it's the exact same as that horde of whites behind it, which is kind of cool. I'm a fan of the Gorblight, in case you haven't
Yeah.
noticed.
I'm a big
Um,
fan of I'm a big fan of regiment nerve, like large infantry regiment or better nerve on a 50 mil base.
Yeah, totally.
It's
So he's taken the brutal option on the Mounted Suns. So it's going to be 18 attacks. If they're unhindered, it'll be 3s and 3s and +1. So that's like hit what, 12 times, do 9 wounds, counted as 10. With brutal, need a 7 twice to break it. On
I don't
average
like
days.
7 twice,
I don't either.
but yeah, have fun. Do something.
8 twice, sure. Yeah. Okay, and he sent the
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, Alex Neo. Yeah, I mean, he's just throwing stuff at the wall right now.
It's a nerve check that's too risky to trust. That's really all you need to know.
Like, he's capped off everything right now, so I expect his dragon to go in somewhere and start earning.
Right.
Because on the entire right side of the board, nothing gets a free counter charge.
Right.
So go into that vampire.
Go into the vampire, free up your fallen. Like, you'll definitely put plenty of wounds on him. With that and the fallen, you'll definitely kill him and be able to turn and look at the flank of like the Soul Reavers, the other dragon, something. Just I don't know that I would send the dragon into the whites, because if
That
you
feels
fail to kill
so
the
sketchy.
whites, and you've already got 4 wounds on your dragon, those whites are going to kill you next turn. Like,
Yeah, that. Like, don't attack the most dangerous thing on the table with the thing you can't have die.
Oh, I
That-
think
I
he
mean-
might be. Oh, never mind. I was about to say. Oh, I think he might just be like bunny hopping the dragon into the Rev Cav
I think that's
as
what
a
he's
save
doing.
charge. Yeah, he probably should have moved his unit first, but I guess he can move through his own unit so long as he's not charging to get his other mounted sons out so they're not stuck.
I mean, that is the tricky thing that the undead player has done, which is by leaving the zombies way in the backfield, he loses their utility, but it does mean that every single thing you can charge basically is defense 5 or 6.
Or 6, yeah.
There
And
are
is
no.
probably fearless and
It's
will
just
hit you
there's
really
no
hard
easy
back.
wounds.
Right.
There's
with
no
weakness
easy
and
wounds.
all that stuff. So
Yeah, with 2 sources of weakness and a pretty good amount of punch back. Like even the weakest counter punch you're going to get will be from Wraith regiments, and they're still what, like 12 attacks on forward, crushing 1, I think. Yeah. Still going to put some wounds on you.
Here it comes.
So something I did want to mention. This is Jarvis undead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So this is good versus evil.
it is.
right.
So
That are the good guys.
the classic matchup of undead against northern barbarians, good versus evil. I actually always loved the idea of a Jarvis army that was themed to be good undead. So like feudal knights raised from the dead to protect their homeland, kind of like an honorable, good-sided undead, not the normal
Or
evil
just
side.
or just go straight up Lord of the Rings and do like the Army of the Dead.
Mhm.
Right.
Aragorn's Army of the Dead.
They weren't good guys. They were traitors paying back a chip
Sure.
for their own solace.
True.
They
All
were
right,
mercenaries.
so Fallen putting 5 wounds on Wraiths. Magnil put 3 wounds on the dragon. Here's the mounted sons on the Gorblight, which is not going to be enough.
No.
With only 4 wounds, Brutal treats it like 5 plus a 6. It is fine.
God,
Uh,
that's a bad charge. Were they hindered or
is-
something? Like what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, they were hindered. Those
They were
3
hindered.
didn't count.
Yeah. Well, that 1-3 didn't count. Still hit really well. Well,
No, I
guess
mean
on
I
average.
mean on
Yeah, on
on the hits above the first roll.
Oh, right. Only half the hits hit.
Okay, where
And now we're doing the Lord on Frostfang on Soul Reaver Infantry. 3 wounds there, plus a 7 is definitely not going to slow them down either. So they're going to murder that thing next turn.
boy, oh boy.
I mean, he didn't need to do all these fancy charges to just punch the Rev Cav with his dragon. I feel like he's potentially giving up a lot of units here. We'll see.
I mean, I think he felt he had to lock everything down so that there wasn't as many surge opportunities, right? Because the
Yeah, but
dragon is the
like-
only thing that matters.
I guess for me, like, what's he going to surge into? He's going to surge into your valuable units, which you're just giving up to him now. So
I think that's a waiver on the Vampire Lord on horse from the
That
Fallen.
actually matters quite a bit. Staying stone?
Oh, but he has a staying stone. Oh, so he's not even wavered.
Oh boy.
Good use of this. Seeing the staying stone on that vampire it got me thinking like mine gets wavered an awful lot. I like your style, sir. Okay,
What are you, Jib?
5 wounds on the wraiths and a 7. They will also be fine.
they're chilling. They're exactly where they want to be.
And now to the combat that he hopes to win and rack up some points. So let's see how he does here with his dragon on this Rev Cav troop. All right, so there's his dragon, and there's his vicious roll.
Ugh.
nice conversion.
Pretty good. 6 points. 7 points.
6 on the board. 7. That's what you
Seven
do.
on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something I do like here. If he can avoid being
Another
lightning bolted,
12. Yeah.
is the is this duo of that dragon and those dire fangs will win every combat on this board in a straight up double charge.
Oh yeah.
So if he can keep that like little pair together and just sort of treat them as a whatever that is, 225 mil wide unit or whatever that is.
Right. I mean, those Frostfangs against anything he's got is probably gonna do what, 10 wounds, just about. I mean, just
Good.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And like if he can pair those up and just keep punching with them, then he's scoring a good number of, because what he did to the Rev Cap should be what he does to any unit on here. It's just going to be hard. So we'll see what opens up next.
Right. Well,
I just think
that's
he gave up those Mounted Suns and he's given up some potential other stuff already, and that just feels rough. Like that Lord on Frostfang and those Mounted Suns are gone.
Should be.
Possibly the second Lord on Frostfang.
If the Revenants roll hot,
if the Revenants roll hot, that Mounted Sun's probably gone. But
or if
what
he
item do they
just
have?
says screw it and whips the
Plus one strength.
Yeah, the Revenants have Bruce strength
Yeah, they're gonna make that dude go away.
if they hit well enough. 25 on 4s and 4s.
Right. Yeah.
7.
7, but yeah, he's 15, 17 nerves. So I mean,
Yeah, it'll take him a couple of turns, but like
There's a drain life for a Bane chant, maybe. I don't know. Kicking around.
there's a Bane chant in the list, but
Kyle
We
said they have questions.
A question.
If it's
What's
should I
your
have charged the vampire, the answer is yes.
What is your question?
oh, I guess they're waiting for me to answer.
Yeah, somebody has to respond.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing too is with that Lord on Frostfang, if he survives those Revenants, he's nimble. He can get the hell out of dodge if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, he doesn't have to necessarily sacrifice that Lord on Frostfang. Now, the one against the Soul Reaver Cav or Soul Reaver Infantry is probably dead, but he could probably also then nimble charge that Soul Reaver Cav and ignore the Revenants, if you so chose. So
Okay, he's asking about the Strider aura affect you when you charge or whether you're in it after moving. I think it's at the beginning of your move, right? If you're
That's
in the
my
Strider aura at
understanding
the
as
beginning.
well.
I
yes.
believe it's when the order is issued.
That is correct.
That's my understanding for ones that affect movement like that. My understanding of it is that when you move through difficult terrain, you are hindered, and then being hindered affects your later combat. So you need the aura to affect you when you charge, so that you're not hindered during that move. I don't know. Auras are weird, people.
Auras are weird. Truth.
Stay in school, kids.
So this is interesting. Oh shit! Double charge on his dragon with the Vamp Lord and the Whites. Oh,
Should have killed the vampire.
Should have killed that damn vampire.
Like,
Well, I wasn't expecting that.
when
Good move to Richard. Right?
when the game is about doing damage to a single unit on the board that is
Right.
easy to see, I feel like one of the first priorities should be tying up or killing that vampire, because that's basically their job. That's the thing they're best at in the world is they're small, they're fast, they fit anywhere, and they do nice damage. So
100%.
and he had a chance. We think he had a chance to take it off the board last round.
Yeah, that's a good point. Should have backed up the dragon instead of leaving him as is. But
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah,
he
because
gonna put him?
now,
He's got no room with the amount of suns behind him. That spot is the spot.
yeah.
well, the problem is if he had backed it up, he wouldn't have gotten the double charge in.
Yeah, there you go. See, that proves that I don't know what I'm talking about. That is true.
It would have been a single charge. But
Yeah, it would have been
I
a
mean,
single charge. That is true.
Interesting. So now the Soul Reavers are going to kill this Lord on Frostfang. Hopefully, otherwise it's going to disengage and then flank his dragon and kill it.
Oh yeah, it is.
So
Well, that
there's
dragon just needs to get the F out of there.
Right.
well. So here's the thing. Like we just got Cloak of Death right from the Gore Blight on these 3 units. At this point, like assuming they kill his dragon this turn with that white and vampire double charge, that dragon does 3 wounds to Magnild, and calls it a day. Right.
Right. And just GTFOs. Yeah.
Right.
So
Or 4
said-
wounds.
yeah,
Assuming Kyle gets a grand total of 7 points for the 7 wounds that his dragon did last turn. Richard currently has 4. If if Kyle's dragon dies this turn and Richard does 4 wounds, the rest of the game is irrelevant.
Sort of.
Other than just bonus points, right?
yeah.
Well,
So Dash,
there's bonus points and then attrition modified. So
Right.
like
Sure,
if,
but like
if
the
he
scenario
gets-
is over.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Dash-
If he's able to take out that dragon, which I'm still not. He still could, but if once he takes out that dragon, I GTFO and just start cleaning up the rest of the Varnger army.
for sure would. That's the scenario, right? But Dash 19 for Kyle's dragon
Mhm.
is not 16-18. Much harder to pin in place. You better hope everything goes right. No UB dice, no BS, no nothing, and that you hit 7/7 or whatever it is you're going to need, right?
Right. Because at that point, would you just take Kyle's dragon into that Vampire Lord again and hope to kill that thing and then roll the 1 inch to roll forward into the lights, and then that's a lot of shit you're rolling up on.
Sure.
All right.
Special call out to Joe A. I don't know who that bro is, but wow.
Seeing a lot of donations roll in. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, guys. That
Very
rules.
cool.
And the 4 groups that it's going to are Extra Life, Doctors Without Borders, Feeding America, and Children's Wish Foundation. So if you are a terrible Scrooge who hates Extra Life, Doctors, and Feeding America, there's still Children's Wish Foundation. Like you can't find a problem there.
Right.
So.
We got
Those are
something for
4
everybody.
very excellent charities. So
You know what I mean? One.
So this is probably going to be a Bane chant on the whites. So they'll be wounding on 2s.
Oh no.
I
Yep.
mean, that's a dead
So
dragon,
eight-
right? Unless we
you
see something
also-
crazy.
So
to be fair, you have to take out that dragon at this point, or else
He does. So it's
One or
it's already
both
got
are
4
dead.
wounds. It's already got 4 wounds. The whites are 18 attacks on 3s and now wounding on 2s. And the
That should be
vampire
10.
is and the dragon is 7 attacks hitting on 3s with crushing 2, so 3s and 3s.
It should be like a 3 or a 4 twice.
It should be a 3 or 4 twice. Yep, exactly.
Right.
It should
The
be
most
comfy range.
dangerous number.
So true.
We're not going to say its name, but we can feel it coming, can't we? All right, other shooting. Here's
So
another
then-
Bane chant.
So he's just fighting back with this dragon. He's just sticking on Magnild.
Yeah,
Well,
Eh.
you're just doing points. I mean, I think he's
Yeah.
feeling like his threats are gone at this point, are going to be gone at this point. So
well, the dragon got punched, so it can't just fly away and shoot something. If he wants to get any points this turn, he's got to punch something. Magnild's right in front of him, and she's mighty, so he can't just run through her, and he can't fly
Yeah.
because he got punched. So punching
I
Magnild
guess-
back.
I guess if you're assuming you're going to kill his dragon this turn, which is a reasonably safe assumption that will now fail, any damage he does now puts him over the top. Right.
Right.
Anything
exactly.
he can do to it puts him over the top in BPs, and then
Yep.
he's living easy. And that, I mean, sure, you don't want your dragon to die, but he's chilling at that point.
right. I mean, he's already banked up the points that he's going to bank up. So if he gets 7 points or 12 points or whatever and dies, whatever.
Okay,
Only-
That's a lot of 1s and 2s, gentlemen.
Eight wounds from the whites.
Okay,
They rolled a
so that
ton of
just
1s and 2s.
He's
undid
at
the Bane
12
chant.
now.
Yeah.
Do they
And-
have Blade of Slashing or Mace of Crushing?
No.
Not them.
Okay.
He,
So-
he gave them +1 speed, so they could do that charge.
So he's at what, 16 wounds now for the dragon?
It's the
at
3,
8.
right?
Yeah, the Lord giveth and he taketh away. But either way, it's a 3.
Yeah.
Oop.
So close.
Please leave now. We have
And
some
that-
lovely parting gifts.
Well, here's the thing, though. If he goes back, because if Kyle's able to go in and just absolutely demolish that vampire and that White Horde, if he doesn't kill Magnil, that dragon is in trouble. Like
That's why my feeling on the dragon was potentially just run.
because I mean, yeah, because if that dragon does not kill Magnil, Magnil's just come back, lock that thing down, and then
that dragon is not built to kill Magnil. It's 10 attacks hitting on 4s.
No.
Are we talking like 4 wounds?
But 4 wounds wins the scenario at this point.
right.
True.
That's the thing.
Let me show you the thing. Here's the thing.
Oh, that is true. That is
Right.
true.
It wins the scenario.
I just wish, I really do wish either he had charged his dragon into that dragon, or more for the game that he had charged that vampire and removed it from the face of this earth.
Right.
Yep.
So,
But that's okay.
But the thing is, we all know those of us who have armies that hit mainly on 4s. I mean, the 4s giveth, the 4s also taketh away. So I mean, he could very well 2 wounds to Magnil.
Yeah.
4s.
He's doing some wounds out there. Just like, oh boy, they are underperforming. I mean, not a ton, but enough, right?
Yeah, their job is to not die.
So do we know relative
wait.
position and do we know relative position in the tournament or anything? Do we know like one of
I
them
don't.
has to win by some amount to actually take it?
Not that
I
I know
don't.
of.
We get Mark on the horn. I know what's up.
I mean, like,
ping him on Messenger and see.
let's be realistic. This is a Kings of War tournament. You know, there's no reason. Yeah, the Stay in Stone killed his dragon.
It's true. The best 5 points ever.
Richard's 4 points behind. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
4
now
points
it
behind.
becomes Operation Table the Undead, which I'm not sure is going to happen.
Not with that build.
For Kyle.
Now here's the Soul Reavers with sharpness, mind you.
Oof.
So that's 14 wounds on the Lord on Frostfang. That'll put him at 15.
And,
7 and a 6.
and he's dead.
So nobody's getting in a flank of that dragon next turn.
Yeah, can we talk about how filthy that unit is?
Yeah, seriously.
Right.
As a more universal concept, can we talk about the fact that it's a regiment and therefore all the units, all the items that make it
Are
awesome are
cheaper.
cheaper?
Are cheap. Yeah.
It
Right.
gets,
I mean, I understand they were like, okay, hordes. There has to be a way to get the differentiation.
Yeah,
I'm
they
glad
didn't have
did it.
that one in mind. I mean, as coming from a Northern Alliance player that has the Huskarls, which are not as punchy as Soul Reaver Infantry, but still pretty punchy. I mean, they still get the same discounts. It's just like, you know,
All right.
exactly. Yeah, it's like, wow.
Dragon on Magnil gets 6 hits and 6 wounds.
whew, that's
Oh
it.
boy.
That's scenario victory.
That is basically
Could be.
that is scenario victory.
Now, so just from a pure, I guess, scenario design concept, do we really like a scenario that could just basically end in turn 4 and it's just kind of, you know?
So I have, I don't mind it because
Okay.
the way I
Yeah.
look at it is most all scenarios can be ended by turn 4 if you fuck up. Like if you get yourself blown out in control and you have 2 units left that can score and they have 8,
Right.
like you've pretty much lost that scenario, bro.
Right.
Like it doesn't say so on the scoreboard yet, but
Your story.
you know, it's
That's
for
fair.
me. I don't think they should all be that way, and I do like when it can come down to the final turns or last turns, and you always have something to play for.
Right.
I do think he still has something to play for here, which is, you know, this is what we're talking about is the 15-5 designation. There's
Right.
a lot of attrition left that can bring that to 10-10,
To almost a drop.
11-9.
And like we said, we don't know how they're right now in the tournament. We don't know if like
We do. We do.
Mark said
Oh, do we?
Mark said
Okay.
Richard's 4 points behind. Yeah.
4 points behind. So okay. So,
So
I mean,
Kyle needs to go into Operation Beat Face and
just kill
and
all the
just start
things.
murdering things, which is hard.
But
Especially
he's playing
when you've
Varinger,
been,
Yeah,
so
but say, Varinger. I think that's kind of what they do is murder things. So you know,
but it's a shift now. Where
right.
yeah,
The
killing
onus
this
is
dragon
on
is great.
him. Yeah, the onus is on him now. He needs to kill that dragon and quit, Richard from scoring any more points. And
Because right now the scenario difference is what? He's got 4 more points than him. What's the VP difference for the dragon damage?
9-6, right? 9-7.
9-7. So
9-7. Yep.
right now it's only an 11-9.
Yeah.
So that's still without attrition factored in and other stuff. That is still a Kyle win, assuming table 2 doesn't do something terrible.
I think it's still 10 because Magnild has Iron Resolve, so the dragon did 1 more wound. Right?
Okay.
That's how I think he
interesting.
miscounted that 9. I think it should be a 10.
Sure. Assuming that's how that works.
yeah, because
Unless I miscounted wounds.
No,
yeah, wounds done versus worn stick, right?
wait, no, he
It can't
did,
be wound stick.
right. He did 10.
Like
wounds.
you can't heal that later and be like, you lost points, bro.
Yeah, it's 10 wounds. It's 10 wounds he did.
Yeah, so it's a 12-8 right now. And that means attrition will matter. So like this game isn't over in a tournament context.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like I don't know. I mean, you're right. There is a lot when in tournament context. I mean, if it's just a normal friendly pickup game, then yeah, it's pretty much why the hell are we playing. But in terms of a tournament, yeah, it's definitely there's plenty of stuff for Kyle to play for.
Yeah, and
Operation Peace.
in a friendly pickup game, I mean, you can end the game because you got a bad roll sometimes. Like,
Right.
I've seen games where it's like a horrible 1-1 and then 2 6s the next round. It's like, cool, we gonna go eat.
Yeah, bottom of
let's
turn
go
3
eat.
is just like, cool, let's go grab a beer. Yeah.
Nice
no.
playing you, right?
Let's I don't know if any of you have done it. I've definitely done it in a friendly game where you roll that ridiculous nerve roll that's going to change the whole game and break it, and you're just like, let's pretend that didn't happen and keep playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm too stubborn.
Ooh,
I keep playing.
Came to his 5 points and 6
Wow,
points behind
that's
Kyle.
tight.
So yeah,
that
a big win on table 2. Might slip by whoever wins
it
this
totally will.
Who
Which
on
is my
table?
that is my least favorite thing in a tournament. It's totally fine. I get it. I just personally I like the top table playing for the win. Like whoever wins that game wins the tournament. I always hate
Right.
when they have this really great tight fought game and then someone on table 2 just rolls
Cheeky-
over them and
cheeky
passes
table 2
everyone.
is just like, hey guys, I'm gonna win this game. I'm gonna win this tournament for you.
Even
Speaking as
though
a guy
I
who
have
never plays in the top table, I like the other way better.
yeah.
Right?
Well, I will say I have won a GT that way where the top table beat each other up and then I just jump past them all. Like so
What is this winning a GT thing you're talking about? What is that?
I've only won one, and it was a team event. Right? And I
At Crossroads last year?
The team.
So you
You're
won
welcome.
a quarter. You won a
Right.
quarter of a GT.
That's the game. That was some awful dice. Yes.
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 Correct. Mm.
Yeah. After all was said and done, right?
So Felix, you were playing Basilia in the last Clash of Kings pack in V2 with the
Right.
2 dirty formations.
Right.
How'd you not win a GT? They were just giving them to that army.
Yeah. When it takes a vicious Alohi horde 3 turns to break a zombie regiment, your dice just aren't really working for you.
Hmm.
So
Okay, so
That's-
what's going on here? What do we
that's when
have?
your dice are just like, you know what? Yeah.
He
We've
just
got-
he just killed some whites.
A billion attacks.
He
and
just killed
nothing
some
happened.
whites, which is not
Yeah.
unexpected.
I mean, the counter charge that he knew.
I like that
but
the
it's
snow
what you
foxes
do, right?
are still alive.
Yeah, Snow Fox is still being alive at the toward turn 4 of a game is either a really good thing or a really bad thing. You know?
Oh, did not actually get the whites because the vampire inspires, and his second roll was Snake Eyes.
Oh
Ooh. Ugh. Ugh.
no. Ugh is right.
Okay, so now the vampire's like double MVP. Like help
Seriously.
kill the dragon and kept the whites
Oh
alive.
my God.
Yeah.
Right?
This is not going well for Kyle. Just
If only he had killed that vampire. The turn.
Right.
Well,
before.
and the shitty thing is that is the vampire actually wavered now? Okay, the vampire's actually wavered. Good.
Right.
I was about to say because the vampire's about to help the whites kill the Frostfang next turn too.
No, yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't
But
quite get
He's
that.
wavered. Yeah.
Um,
Right.
There is some, yeah. Yeah, when we cut back to the view with the players in it, and we just see Kyle's feet swinging back and forth at the top of the screen, we know why.
Looks like he picked up the Gorblight though, so there's that.
Yeah, the Gorblight's good for a round versus a hammer unit, but it won't live too.
Right. Let's see what McNeil does.
I look at the table now and I see one unit fighting one unit. I don't see a lot of double charges. I don't see a lot of combo stuff coming out of Kyle.
And then the other part of this, first of all, Dragonfall, get the names right. Come on, guys. Joe Ass is celebrating, thinking he's spending all this grognard, and then it's Joe A. No problem. So that the sort of vampire regiment at the back, the Soul Reaver infantry, is still a huge problem. Because one-on-one they'll punk anything in this Varangur list if they get a chance. So
And in the game, you mean? Is that? I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Not just this game, but like
Anything in the game.
Kings of
Look,
War in general. Right?
Right.
full disclosure, as much as I love a giant unit of emo pretty boys listening to Depeche Mode and watching the Crow,
Watching the Cure.
kicking ass, watching the Crow. Represent. I got mine.
Right.
I say
Crow
I'm
shirt
dead
on.
and I
There you
move.
go. There you go.
I love the idea of the foot vampires. They are just so powerful. And
Sure.
for a lot of the undead stuff, I don't mean to jump on the undead or broken bandwagon. I don't think so. It's just that they have a ton of really great options, and that's one of them. So they
Well, like
have
I
kind of the
say, you
Go
know,
on.
when mummies are like their worst option, and mummies are not bad. You know, it's like,
It's true.
Yeah.
you know,
I have no room for Empire of Dust's best unit in my undead list.
It doesn't synergize well enough.
that's quote right there. That's you know,
So the Soul Leavers will kill Magnil this turn, but will not be able to overrun into
right because
those. Yeah,
Right.
but they will
That's
cover
too
the flank
bad.
of the dragon from the Frostfang
Yeah.
Lord.
Here's a question for you guys. You tell me to shut up or not. But is it bad for the game to have a unit that punks any other unit?
No. There.
Right.
I mean, for me, there has to be one. Like, it's okay that one exists.
And I'm not saying that something's the best. I mean that it gets in and it just smears whatever it is it fights and goes, yeah, I win. Right?
Yeah, that's fine.
The perception being 25 attacks hitting on threes, CS2, so you can't really mitigate it. Right? You go through the list of.
well, I mean, that's an army
Right.
build thing because like a horde of even ice naiads. I mean, it's going to do a lot of damage, but you know, it might not necessarily take out that horde in one go. Now, granted, width of the unit, some of that's going to get multi-charged, so it's probably going to take it out anyway. But
Small footprint. Right?
But
I
they,
think it's.
they
I
they
think-
do waver though, so you can shoot at them and keep them from making it across the table for a turn.
You can.
right,
No, I think
Like I
It's
said,
not like
like,
they're
that's-
fearless. Right?
that's an army
I-
build thing, you know. So
I think it's a super powerful, great unit that is a problem when I see it on the table, but I don't think that's bad for the game. I should be scared of some of my opponent's units.
right,
For me, it's just that it's nestled in between a bunch of the other best units in the game.
yeah,
And that's okay. Like I don't actually. I think the game is so balanced that the small things that stick out, the small sort of nails that stick out, get talked about a lot. I think overall, if we were looking at game balance, it's not a big problem. It's just we have so few potentially overpowered things that we have to complain about them constantly because we have nothing else to talk about because we're all locked in our houses not playing games.
That is true. I am one of those people. Right? And I actually find it refreshing, once again, from Warhammer, where I'm complaining or I hear complaints about a unit as opposed to an army.
Mhm.
Right? Like
Sure.
if you know.
right.
And the thing we're complaining about the unit is the fact that it has a lot of attacks and it hits on a low number and it's got good crushing strength. Not that like it's got some weird wacky rule that's broken where or it's
Right.
got all of the special rules like Fallen used to before they nerfed them to the point of being useless. Of like, oh, they're nimble and they're this and they're Pathfinder and they're you're like, did you guys have to stack everything on this one? It's like, no, they just beat face. That's all
Well,
they do.
I think with the Soul Reaver infantry, I think they kind of run into the issue that if you remove one thing, it kind of becomes like a why bother unit. Because if you take them down to the 20 attacks that the Huskarls have, they don't have the fury that Huskarls have built in. So it's kind of like if you took away those 5 attacks, just make them 20 attacks. Yeah, they'd still do work, but not having any waiver mitigation. Be like, why bother?
I'm also a big fan of Felix going full German as soon as he starts to say Huskarl. It's his normal
Ich liebe
voice, and then
Deutsch.
it's his normal voice, and then it goes into Huskarl, and it drops an octave and gets.
That's my German speaking voice. It drops an octave. Strangely enough, my Danish one does as well, but also just sounds like I'm choking to death. So I didn't want to.
Okay, so we got spicy combats going on here.
Yep, we got the Wraith regiment on the left. Got another waiver on the. That's the first waiver on those Fallen. The ones on the.
Yeah, but there's a deal over there.
That's so offensive to me as a. Like those 2 Wraith regiments are just like, come at me, bro. We're gonna hold this entire flank, each side.
And also one of them having the Helm of Confidence. That's really good because you don't have to do any support on them. It's just
they're good. So there's 5 more wounds for the dragon and a waiver on the Mounted Sons in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in a pretty good spot right now.
Racking it up.
Yep.
Oh, got it. Wavered them? Did they buy Fury or they bought Brutal?
He bought Brutal. Brutal.
Brutal. Yeah, they can't buy Fury in the Civ
Anymore.
It's just stealthy or brutal.
Oof.
Oof, indeed.
That's just rough because they're not going to get to hit back. He's got to get something into that dragon, or the dragon just pieces out, and you will never see it again. It's just flying around, machine gunning things.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's now a 40k Tau vehicle, just pew-pewing the rest of the game and not playing.
Wait a minute. For the greater good? Is that how this goes?
You don't play Tau, Felix. I like you.
I don't play 40k.
Okay.
I just know that's their thing is for the greater good. So,
yeah.
Although one of my buddies I play Kings of War with, one of my friends from college, he did play Tau, and it was hilarious because I hear about his stories of if he wasn't able to shoot things off the board, he'd get in a melee and just die. That's what Tau did.
Yeah. So the spread now is 8 points. 8 points gives a 14-6 scenario victory. So he's now stretched into the part where Kyle, to keep a tournament victory, a tournament win, is going to need to remove a lot of units. It does not look like he's in a place to do it.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost the Lord on Frostfang.
Yep. To a Revenant Horde.
Revenant Horde, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but the next couple of tables down, we're not that far behind Richard.
Right.
So Richard's in command in this game, but like to make sure the second or third table doesn't
really
leapfrog
lock it
him.
Well, that's
he's
it, right?
He's got to turn up some points.
Apparently, Kyle was in first place, and it goes Richard 4 points, the other guy 5, next guy 6, next 2 people 8. I mean, that's a clump, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to win convincingly.
Yep. So he left those zombies out there in order to not give dragon meat.
Right.
Did he forget them?
Does he still remember they're there? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think with terrain.
Does he need them to be there at this point? Like,
no, but
I mean,
No. He's got everything anviled up that he wants to anvil up,
right.
and it's too late for chaff to be particularly useful at this point. Like by the time they got into the game.
Yeah, I'm just looking at if his dragon dies, that's 2 battle points to Kyle. So like now we're back to Operation Don't Let the Dragon Die at all costs.
Well, now that like it seems like half of Kyle's army's wavered at this point.
That's what you get for playing fallible humans.
Are they human though?
Yeah,
Berenger, yeah, they're human.
Eh,
One of the how many human factions?
That's sounding so Felix is a Varangur player or a
Northern Alliance.
Northern
Yeah.
Alliance player. So I don't know. That sounded like some veiled Northern Alliance on Varangur racism there. Like, are they even human?
Maybe.
Like if we
I mean-
classify them as non-human, us killing them is totally okay now, right?
Well, if you think about it, if you take all the non-human or the non-human elements out of Northern Alliance, you have Varangur. So
Yeah.
I'll
so they're
leave it
more
at that.
human than you are.
They're more human than a human. Is that?
Mhm.
But
So
yeah,
what you're saying is the Varangur are the real racists.
So what do we
I
need?
mean, sure.
Let me end up here.
that's kind of where I'm at, Mike.
For those of you watching from outside the U.S., it's really weird here these days. Okay, just
Right.
bear with us. We're working through some stuff, and
We're all,
and we likely will be for the next few months. So
We're working through some stuff.
we're all living in bunkers. It's fine. So what is the undead path to tournament victory here? Besides the fact that they've wavered, God, those wraiths are so annoying.
I mean, he's wavered like half of Kyle's armies, so I mean,
So
it's
those wraiths
really-
are going to win. They're going to win those combats.
Well,
Yeah.
so if he doesn't take out are those the fallen with the revenants? I mean, if he doesn't take them out this turn, I mean, even if they take out the revenants next turn, I mean, that is probably he can pivot a freaking, Soul Reaver infantry regiment to take those things out. So
You can't see them if they back
Yeah,
up and stay behind the
the
hill. Stay
But then
behind the hill.
but
Fallen.
also that's another turn that they can't do anything. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
dead if they let those Soul Reaver cavalry.
oh wait, no,
or Soul
they
Reaver
can
infantry
see
charge them.
they can see that the hills just
They're
goes
just staring
that
at
far,
nothing.
and their
Yeah.
their leader point is on the hill.
Oh, you are so dead, Fallen.
The hill
I'm
goes all the way
sorry.
down there.
Yeah.
That's a bad color choice for the hill for the color of dirt that he picked for the map. It's a little hard to tell, but their leader point is on the hill.
So yeah,
So
they're
there's-
dead. Everything else is wavered. I mean, he's going to basically at the end of this turn have a Snow Fox regiment, a Frostfang horde, and then a Mounted Suns regiment.
Yeah.
That's it.
And for anyone wondering why Wraith regiments got made irregular in this Clash of Kings update, like, here
Right.
they are.
Right. So the question was, what does the undead player have to do to get total victory? Right. And my opinion would be you rack up as many points as you can with the dragon. You don't play safe. So, for example, if you could get a flank charge into something and grab another 7-10 wounds,
He only
it's
needs
worth doing, right?
he needs 2 damage to get to 15-5. He's at 14-6 right now.
Okay, and he's got a wavered unit in front of him, so he can easily like lightning bolt it or something to get a couple more points.
Yeah, my sorry, I feel like not to be like Rossi, your opinion is trash, but on this
No,
one
please,
I think
it is.
on this one I think he only needs 2 more damage to get to max victory for his dragon, and he loses it if he dies. So for me,
Right.
it's Operation Dragon Run and Hide and Lightning Bolt things.
Right. So fly somewhere safe and lightning bolt those foxes and call it
Yep.
a day.
Yep.
Like
Or-
fly like over the hill next to the Frostfangs where nothing can see you. Pivot and shoot the foxes.
Over the hill and far away, because if he charges, if he even finishes off that wavered unit in front of him, he's open to a charge from the Mounted Suns or
Everybody.
the Firefangs, and
Yeah,
you're giving points you don't need to give, because that's the only thing left in his army that's scary. But man, you do kind of want something to finish off those Mounted Suns. I don't
Yeah.
know. Because leaving, I mean, they're damaged, but just leaving them alive is a little bit scary in the middle.
Yep.
It's sus, as the kids say these days. I don't know what that
Daughter
means.
agrees.
It's the thing to say.
It's from Among Us. Is that what the game's called?
It is, but I pretend to not know what's going on in popular culture. So.
Also, follow Felix on TikTok.
So many dances.
yeah.
So many dances.
Yeah, someone described that game to me, and I was like, oh, so they turned the Battlestar Galactica board game into a video game, so it doesn't take 3 hours. Awesome. I love it. Let's do it.
My oldest, who's a freshman in high school, she plays it, but I don't know. It just confuses and angers me as any father can happen.
I've been too busy playing Crusader Kings 3 and then the early access of Baldur's Gate 3 to bother figuring out how to play Among Us yet.
Nice.
So
I've thought about getting
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
yes.
It just came out like what, last week or something?
Early access. Like last week the early access version came out. So you can play the first chapter.
Brendan's like getting on Steam. All right.
Is that
Well,
PC only or is it couch co-op?
I don't know. It's not done yet, and I've only been playing it off the Steam version I downloaded on my
Gotcha.
laptop. So I'm not sure how much they've got done yet.
I'm crusading for couch co-op games. I think that it's something that the PC or the video game industry has left behind.
Okay, so it
In
looks
the minority,
like
nobody cares.
the vampires went into.
No, I just don't want to. I don't want to say
Fallen.
your opinion is trash 2 times in a row.
Twice.
Yep. So yeah, the Soul Reavers have gone into the Fallen, who they will very, very likely kill.
So interesting. He took
Yeah.
the dragon into the
Sons?
Weaver's Mounted Sons.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
think
he's saying he's gotten the points he needs to get right now. So who cares if it dies? But
it gives 2 points to Kyle. I guess it doesn't lower. It does though, right? Like,
No, you don't lose any points for your dragon dying. You just can't get any more.
Like I said, I guess
no. So there's a secondary objective. Okay. So yeah, this is the good news. I think if I'm reading this right, secondary objective: kill the dragon. You gain 2 battle points in addition if your opponent's dragon's living legend. So he's giving Kyle points.
Oh, so nice of him.
If he loses his dragon, but he is not giving. He is not losing points. So if he's just trying to outpace the pack, that's chasing them.
Right.
I mean, it's tough
Right,
though
and-
because it's still a 400 point that goes towards your attrition.
Yeah,
Right.
And
it does, but it has Ensnare and Phalanx, and both of the units that would double charge it are starting in the forest, and one of them is weakened.
Well,
so you're hoping
well,
he
the
just straight up
Frostfangs
lives.
Well, the Frostfangs
Yeah.
don't care about the forest. They're
Oh, that's true. They're Striders. Yeah. Okay.
But they care
But-
about Phalanx.
they care about
Ooh,
Phalanx.
They care about Phalanx, and they care about being weakened.
Actually, yeah, I didn't even think of that. I'm an idiot. Thank you, Michael.
So it'd be 5s and 5s, 30 attacks. So
No, it's
Yeah.
6s. They're on 4s normally, right?
right,
Ensnare plus Phalanx.
Phalanx. So yeah,
stacked.
6s, yeah.
Come at me, bro.
Boom.
So he's hitting 5 times. It's the hope. Now
So-
those five will stick.
Well, that's
Um,
assuming you put the Frostfangs into that thing. Why don't you just put the Mounted Sons?
They're the same. They're hitting on 5s.
And they're starting in the woods, so they'll be hindered.
Right.
Because they're not Striders.
So they
Richard
hit.
on the left.
They hit 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had trouble when I looked at the build your own dragon for this. I had trouble looking past Ensnare and Phalanx for one of them. That just seems so good.
Right.
Richard is picking up units on the left, in the middle.
Yep. And probably on the
Holy
right.
schmoly. You would think so.
Probably,
Well,
probably on the right as well.
that's what we thought was going to happen to the Fallen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
second we knew those Soul Reaver infantry had them in their sights, they were gone. It just
One-on-one combat on the flanks. Also, as soon as you waver, you lose that battle. Like we know that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some
it's-
discussion apparently.
Where should this combat be?
Yeah,
One
that's
is forward, one is back.
Fused.
I
it's
think
two
that should be
moves?
12 attacks instead of 10. Oh, this is the dragon. Okay.
Oh, dragon. Gotcha.
And picks him up.
And now he's done the smart simple thing, which is you turn those race inward and you get ready to charge whatever fails to kill your. Yeah, you
Right,
back it
now he's
up
gonna-
like,
Now he's going to try
Yeah.
and back up and
come on into my kill zone.
Yeah. Send it
You
over
won't,
now. Yeah.
you won't kill my dragon, and then I'll countercharge and kill everything you have. Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
if he does, he's even if he does miraculously sort of kill the dragon, he's getting hit by Soul Reavers, or maybe not, because the Foxes.
The Foxes are still alive. Well, I mean, if there's no turn 7, like, it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, true.
I don't. Can he even fit the soul?
Yeah,
Mounted
just so
Sun
the-
and the Frostfang in. I don't think
Yeah.
he can.
Just to answer Sam's question in the chat, I don't think we were saying Phalanx and Hindered stack. We were saying Phalanx and Ensnare stack. So it's a -2 on the Dire Fangs, which are they might not both fit. Womp
I
womp.
don't think they will.
I would say send the Mounted Suns along with this the Foxes into the Mounted Sun or the Soul Reaver infantry. That way they can at least be gone and not get flanked. You know,
I don't know that
everything
they're
are going to
gonna
Soul
kill.
Reavers.
Yeah, I don't know that the Soul Reavers are even going to die to Mounted Suns and Foxes, because the Mounted Suns are going to be hindered.
Foxes into the dragon. Everything else into the. You joke. You joke. You
Really?
ground
I
the
mean, yeah,
dragon.
that's good.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Kill the Soul Reavers. You ground the dragon, and then you try and chase the dragon down. But that's just me.
That's actually not a bad idea at all.
Now he's going to fit both.
And just say, if
Yeah.
turn 7 comes, turn 7 comes. And if it
Yeah,
doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I don't think.
Right,
he's
right,
gonna-
because at this point, like, him losing more units kind of doesn't matter. But if he kills the dragon, he gets 2 points. So
Just yep.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
true because he's going to get like 12 hits or something like that on 48 dice. Like, I don't think he's going to kill it.
It's one of those though that you're rolling so many dice, you spike a little, and you got
I
him.
mean, that's what he's doing basically. He's rolling 48 dice. I mean, he's hoping that.
Right. So he's hoping for.
Whew, and that helm of confidence paying for itself over there on the
Oh,
right.
wait. Right?
That 11 would have picked him up, but
Yeah.
no. All right, now we can see if in the bottom of turn 6 the other dragon goes down.
Main event.
6 hits.
3 wounds.
Okay.
Man,
I mean,
That's
that's
what we figured.
Yeah.
yeah. Still, it's just amazing to see friggin' Frostfangs doing 3 wounds.
4
Yeah.
wounds,
Phalanx
Well,
and Snare.
12.
Needs a 6.
6.
Phalanx and
twice.
Snare is
Oh,
a
yeah.
hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's a 6 twice with the brutal.
With Brutal, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably the math they're doing right now.
Yeah. So 5 twice, right?
Ah,
Oh.
4.
Balls.
Not even that. It's wavered, which doesn't matter because the Soul Reavers are just going to absolutely pick up that unit, and then
Please.
And the
the
Wraiths will
Necro's
get the
going to
other
move
one.
out of the way, and
This
Yeah.
Wraiths
This
are
is
gonna
that
pick up the-
time. This is that time where I'm like looking in the book for any rule I missed that would add one
Yeah.
more to that roll.
Yeah, seriously. Right. Like,
It
let's
ended,
just be
so-
sure. Right.
It did not go to 7, so
No
That
7.
did not go to 7.
because that would have been brutal for Kyle had it gone to 7.
Yep. Now that might matter.
It's
we'll
Exactly.
have to see- we'll have to see what the
Exactly.
tournament shakes out. But if there was a turn 7, he's down 2 more units. 2
Probably,
expensive units.
probably
Very
3
much
because
so.
I don't think that Mounted Suns on the right would have lasted.
Yeah. So
So he would have had
That-
Snow Foxes left.
that roll for turn 7, if it matters, might have, given someone else the win. I don't know what happened on turn table 2. So
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that definitely. I mean, he would have had Snow Foxes left had it gone to 7. That straight up.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I can't imagine 50 attacks on 3s and
No.
3s would have
Leave
done
now.
anything.
Right. Report to the rail. So
Yeah.
the big mistake was not backing the dragon up.
I say the mistake was not charging the vampire the turn before.
Sure. So
That
even a step
vampire's
forward.
not even on the board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then your dragon is in the flank of his whole army, ready to do what you want to do, like hit like the remnant horde in the flank and
And mainly
score,
just not be
score
dead.
15 points, and mainly just not be dead, right? score 15 points.
'Cause
And
when
not
you look
give
at
away
the-
game.
You look at the end, like he scored what, 15 total for his dragon, the undead.
Like 20.
Okay, because of extra
He-
last.
Yeah, he picked up a few at the end when he picked up the Mounted Suns.
And that went is about as good as it could have gone for that one. It was punching stuff basically every round in front of it, doing wounds, and didn't die.
Right.
That's what you would have to
Yep.
match. And I think he had a chance at matching that or getting close. You know, he doesn't have to actually win the scenario. Just keeping it close would have, you know, I think still he had 4 points to play with. But yeah. So overall, it was an interesting game. I think the scenario made it interesting and kind of cool. You know, what did everyone else think about how the scenario played out versus how they thought it would play out?
I mean, it definitely forces you to keep reevaluating your strategy every turn because you can't just play your army the way you're used to playing it.
Right.
Totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny
And
because
it's-
you build an army to work together, and then in the last scenario, it's like, nope, everything is subservient to this one piece.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's an interesting thing. you know?
Yeah. Which I don't hate as much as I did before the game started. You know, really didn't care for it, but now that it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. And like Brenton was saying, that's something different. That is something that's not your standard. You know.
Now that being said, I do like the sound that Mark had these play tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel sort of bad, but I think a fair number of scenarios make it to the table at tournaments where it's like play testing.
What is that?
Yeah,
Right?
What's a place?
Wait a minute. Richard wins. Richard wins the whole thing?
Oh,
Richard
no,
wins
just
the
this
game.
game.
Oh, just
Just
the
the
game.
Just this
All
game.
right.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to
Yeah, I should
say.
take that
Oh, my
down.
God.
Mike,
But
I don't even know if the next two tables are done playing yet. Like, I have no idea.
but
Right.
that's definitely you know, when you're in the gaming hall and you see the TO walk up and stand at the microphone or just shout from the corner, he's like, "Okay, everyone, in scenario 3, there's a typo." You
Right.
know, like halfway through the round, someone has been like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't make sense." You
Right.
can tell that the play testing wasn't fully there. This one felt like it was good to hear he had play tested it out. So
So we're just waiting for the players to come back. I think they're probably totaling up their attrition points.
yeah, so let's talk about Dragonfall a little. It's a cool tournament. It's a cool event that started sort of as a normal tournament, like gaming kind of multi-system. Plus, they have computer gaming, like LAN party style, and they've also now pivoted sort of hard into the sort of charity side to it to say, let's be more than just another convention. Let's make this all about charity and doing that. And the shift to having to do that virtually this year, which is a lot harder. It's cool. It's cool to see they're raising a good amount of money across the event, and that this could be part of it. And then from a Kings of War side, the tournament is definitely differentiated because it's focused on dragons. I would be interested to see if anyone took a 3 dragon list plus the the other broken dragon, and I'm interested to go back and look through the list and see if anyone went full wacky monster.
That would be
So-
amazing.
Cool. Right.
Let's see.
Felix is looking.
I am looking. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be tempted to take the Kingdoms of Men, quadruple, like
Sure.
triple king on Flying Beast, triple Pegasus hero, triple, like just all Air Force.
Right?
Hey,
And
Richard?
then I'm duty bound to mention, because Mark is bothering me and Matt will probably bother me later about it. The actual convention is normally held outside of Chicago, just outside Chicago, which is a great place to visit. And what's cool about it being virtual this year is a bunch of folks who wouldn't normally be able to attend
Right.
just out of Chicago Con got to jump in and play, which is awesome. But yeah, Dragonfall. It's a good event. It's a good tournament.
Yeah, something actually I've been quite enjoying. I think this is my 3rd US event that I've been doing because I did Mike's Vanguard event,
Yeah.
and then Panathor, and then this, and it's been quite nice, just sort of broadening the sort of players that you just normally wouldn't get a chance to get a game in with. So
Yeah.
it's been quite nice for that, and also just being able to play during the period where we're all locked down still and
Yeah.
and can't get in anywhere in person.
Yeah,
I'm
I can't.
assuming it's all the same over there.
Yeah, it's still pretty bad, depending where you live. We're a big country, but
Yeah.
like I would have loved to have played in Dragonfall. I can get 3 hours off to do commentary. I cannot get a weekend off from the toddler to sit in the back room and play on the computer. It just doesn't fly.
That's fair.
So we'll see.
Yeah, looking at the list real quickly, it just looks like there's many people that took like one dragon and then the new one. There wasn't that many people that just went like all in on the dragons.
There was actually Mark thought of this of me being a terrible person, and there was an adjustment to being a rule of 2 instead of 3. So you couldn't bring 3 dragons plus the extra.
Unless you did the Bastilian trick and take Julius as which a player did, and I played that, and that was pretty rough.
So did someone bring
Donnie
like
Krosh that did that?
No, it wasn't
bring
Donnie.
4?
Donnie did have a high paladin on dragon plus the Julius plus the
2 high paladins on dragons, and Julius and Samacris, and one with and the last one had and his special dragon had Rally 2 as well. So all those dragons
did they take a shower after
dash
making the list,
21.
or-
Hold on,
It's
no,
like,
I'm trying to remember who that was. That wasn't Donnie.
Yeah, Donnie only had the one dragon and
God, I didn't
Julius.
play him, so I don't remember who it was.
The name
sounds like a Shannon Shoemaker thing. Let me go check.
No,
Shannon.
no.
Shannon played Night Stalkers.
It's sort of filth.
No, he was.
That's a list where you see them on the chat, and there's the visible Charlie Brown stink lines like surrounding them as they play.
In fairness, he
Exactly.
was a really nice guy to play, so I'm not too fussed about it. It was still an enjoyable game, even if he did he lightning bolted. But we both had lightning bolt, and he lightning bolted my dragon and got double 6 to waver him on turn 1, and he kept doing it every turn, and that was just like,
Oh God, it was Keith.
yeah,
Keith,
Randall?
No, Conroy.
No, Keith Conroy.
Oh, Keith Conroy.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean,
God,
Keith
Keith.
Randall also would have done that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Keith brought it
Wow.
4 paladin foot guard or 5 paladin foot guards, 2 with the 2-handed weapons, 2 low high regiments, 2 high paladins on dragon, Julius and
Julius
Samacris.
and Samacris.
So what? So what I will say,
You kissed your
a
mother with that mouth,
hallmark,
Keith?
a hallmark of the Kings of War community I have found is that for the most part, the dirtiest lists are often played by the nicest people, and it balances it out just a little. Like the Jeff O'Neill, the Keith Conroy in this. It's like they're really nice people with really horrible lists. Texas doesn't count, but
The thing is, though, it in one sense
because
it's
they're
utterly
terrible people.
brutal. Yeah,
Right.
but it's brutal, but at the same time, it's not necessarily great for objective play. So it
No.
kind of balances out still.
it's
Right.
it's bad. It's bad for objective
Yeah.
play, but it is just objective in general.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but I can. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, let's
right, so
talk about
let's-
your game though.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about the game. So first, congrats, Richard. Did you guys
Thank
work out your final points for the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well done.
I don't remember the
So-
actual number. Let's
so
see.
it's-
You would have gotten 20, I think.
15, 16, 17. Yeah, I think 20.
And did I get 7?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. I think let me just find the rules pack because you got 1,020 kill points.
Yep. So
Um,
is that plus 2?
I think so. It's quite
answer-
close.
The answer was we figured out enough to submit the results.
Yeah.
But that didn't
And
actually
then
have a
forgot it
spot
immediately.
for the actual score.
Let's have a quick look here a minute. So
Okay, but so you think you ended up with a 20? We were just curious because
Yeah.
we were asking Mark like how far behind the next tables were, and it sounded like the top 3 tables were very, very close together. Mark is
Yeah.
saying 20 to 7 is what you guys submitted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm curious. Let me pull up the results. I think it's possible with a good enough score, like if Sean or Alan just blow each other, one of them just blows the other out, they might catch you. But
Yeah.
like they'd need a full 22, I think.
Hmm.
And is 22 the cap? Because I think one of the
Yeah.
people, the 2 people on table 2, as Mark said, were only 1 and 2 points behind Richard going into this game.
Right.
So
So
Either
if
of
that
them
game,
at a
if
max score
either
could.
of them gets max points, then that's what it would
It's
take.
very interesting.
Then
No
the thing
pressure.
the thing that I hate happens, which is I hate when table 2 passes table 1.
It would be ironic as well, given that if Alan does it, I beat him in round 1 pretty pretty heavily as well. So if you then just went whee past me at the end, that'd be quite funny.
Controversy.
All right, so let's
Excellent.
talk about some stuff that actually happened in the game. What was our big thing we wanted to ask? Why?
Well, before we jumped right into the why didn't you?
I would things that I could have done.
I would love to hear just sort of how your opinion of how the game was going to go at the beginning, like how you thought the scenario would play out and what you thought you would be doing compared to the reality of how it actually played, because it's a new and unique scenario, and your probably view of it changed during the game.
Sure. I'll go ahead and start. I felt that this was going to be a very uphill battle for me from the start. With you having Lightning Bolt on your dragon and me not, and on top of that, the ensnare phalanx you had made it very difficult for me to interact with your dragon between charging it with mine, or if you didn't have that, I probably would have from the start planned on just flying Magnilda into you and shutting down your lightning bolts. But that wasn't an option because of, well, I still hit you with Magnilda, but you know what I mean? It was an uphill struggle the whole time. Combined with, I knew when I saw the map that I would be tripping over terrain. And my mounted sons in the middle to the left of that rock, I think you know the ones I'm talking about, definitely did that all game. So I figured I'd be behind and just try and essentially beat you on kill while keeping my dragon alive, and then just mop up at the end enough to pass you was kind of my plan. And that didn't work.
Yeah. And Richard.
It was kind of, to a degree, just as planned, really. It's great. The whole idea was stall as much as I could, lightning bolt the dragon to death. Effectively, again, taking a page out of the Basilian player's book, and it's just like, actually, Kyle's moving into the woods was a good idea, obviously, because otherwise I would have been doing more damage, maybe. But it was just a matter of get him down, degrade him to the point where once I've got 4 or 5 wounds off him, potentially the whites can go in and take him on their own, especially if they're Bane chanted, especially with the Strider Aura. So I'm going to be hitting on 3s, going to be wounding on 2s. It doesn't matter what happens to them afterwards, because once that dragon is dead, I win the game. And yeah, I would have been nice to pick up more points early on with Snow Foxes and stuff, but at the end of the day, I was like, to do so, I'd have been hitting on 5s, at which point I might as well shoot the dragon. And the other one would have pulled me too much out of position or got me, had some problem angling wise. So I wasn't just going to be baited for a few extra points when actually what I needed to do was just kill that dragon. Because as long as I've killed the dragon, I can't lose. So that was, that's basically it. Dragon dead, job done. And ideally, obviously, keep my own dragon alive in the process, which was what I was trying to do there most of the time. Magnilda getting away from the Vampire Lord was a little bit vexing, but because I was hoping for him to just keep on sitting back and doing his thing, because then he would have been shooting things like little chaff and stuff. But it kind of worked out. She thankfully didn't. I mean, the ensnare again really paid off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was nice. And then, him being able to just keep, after that, just munching another 4 or 5 points a turn and just going, right, I'll have that. And yeah, that was all good. And again, at that point, as I knew I just had to keep the dragon away from those zombies, because that was just a point smorgasbord otherwise. You'd have been like, all right, racking up 10 points a turn. So I thought, right, keep them out of the way, right at the back, use the rest of the army basically as a meat shield. If the dragon looks like it can charge anything that I care about, or charge anything really, get weakness on it, and just try and hamper it as much as possible. So I don't really care. I didn't really care if my entire army died, as long as that dragon died and I was still up ahead in points. Frankly, up to that point, didn't really matter. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and from our watching, it seemed like your mounted Vampire Lord was kind of the MVP there for a couple of turns, since those were the couple of wounds that pushed his dragon over the edge. So that was kind of our big question to Kyle was,
why didn't I back up the dragon after combat?
Well, why didn't
Yeah.
you back up the dragon, or why didn't you charge the vamp? Because you kind of tried out every available charge, and you put him next to the you put the dragon into the vampire lord, and then was like, no, let's not do that. Let's just hit these rev cav instead. And we were looking at it like, oh, the vampire lord's a great choice because then you're like on the flank of his army, and there's nothing threatening you. Like when you pulled that one back, we were like, oh, that probably should have been of the available charges the one that he took.
Okay, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think
Skurd.
no. So I'm just trying to think. I do that. I'm trying to remember what all was there because I could have put something into the revenants,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
You
that's
ended up
probably-
putting something into everything, basically.
Right.
Oh, you know what? At that point, was his dragon threatening me if I had done that?
Oh yeah, I'd have probably gone in with my dragon at that point.
Yeah, but you ended
Yeah.
up punching the dragon in the face that round anyway.
with
That's
with
true.
Magnil, then it couldn't go
That's
anywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And
Yeah, the
plus,
dragon
there's
was
a
tough
way
in
you
traffic.
could have pivoted your dragon to not necessarily be in that arc.
That's assuming I kill the vampire lord, which is far from a given.
Right. But like we
Well,
said,
because it would have been fallen plus the
Yeah.
dragon on a vampire.
Yeah, that's
should be
true.
good.
That's true. So that's probably what I should have done.
I mean,
It's okay.
you're kind of begging for a snake eyes, and then yeah, the game's over on like turn 2.
Yeah.
because your dragon gets flanked and killed. But
But as we've sort of said a lot of times in these, when there are 4 players who have not already played 4 games of Kings of War this weekend, all sort of watching you play, there's a lot of times where stuff
Right.
sneaks by, and we're like, hey, why didn't you do this
right.
thing we all discussed amongst
You make
us and weighed the pros and
Yeah.
cons of?
yeah, and doubling up on the rev cab and getting some easy points and not putting the dragon's neck out there too much seemed like an okay play. It was definitely better than like several of the other ones you tried of like, no, you're not going to break them and then you're going to die. You're not going to break them and then you're going to die.
Oh,
You're not going to break them.
I tried
and then you're
every
gonna die.
legal target that the dragon had.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all kind of felt that most of them were not good. But so it's like
No,
you can
they
kill the
weren't.
vampire or you can kill the rev cav. One of those two is the only reasonable charge to take. We just think the vampire's better. You went with the rev cav. So, was there anything else that came up during the game, guys?
I was only disappointed that he didn't do the dragon on dragon.
Yeah, I was hoping for.
I don't
that.
actually think that was a good move. It's just the move I wanted to see. Was just
Right. It's a horrible
No,
move.
It was a terrible move.
Right, 'cause
Everyone
the
else-
surge and all that
Worst
stuff
of the
really
options.
would not be a good thing. But it's in our head meta that we had going on, the head story, head canon, like we wanted that fight.
I mean, the Gorblight would have loved that.
right.
Which is why Carl didn't, and it makes perfect sense because
Mhm.
you wouldn't have broken that dragon on the charge,
Yeah,
and at that point, the Gorblight would have spun around, hit him in the flank, done all the death things
And
as
then
well, and I'd have
Right.
got an extra bonus
Yeah,
point
yeah,
for that as
I-
well, which would have been nice. So
I'm aware
you
of why. I'm aware of
Oh,
why the charge
I think-
didn't happen.
The other thing is,
But-
I think it would have blocked so that the Soul Reavers could have gone in then afterwards as well, and that would have been even more problematic.
Well, I'm glad
Look,
you did
here-
that and kept your dragon alive. I mean,
Here's the situation, though. You're playing Jarvis Undead.
Yeah,
And
classic story
if-
of good versus evil, right?
If there was a dragon on dragon fight, I would expect a good army to just let them finish it. in
I
a
think his
gentlemanly.
dragon still wins that.
It's
he's
possible.
not. He's good, but he's not that good.
Yeah, he is.
Well, you would have put Kyle on 4s as well, so I mean,
No, I would have been on
no,
5.
no, it's
Fives,
like I
yeah.
said. That was
Oh,
not
and
the
then,
that was the cinematic move I wanted
Yeah.
to see, not the strategic move either
Right.
of you should have made.
exactly. So don't listen to us, is what we're saying. Don't listen to our, commentary or any of that stuff.
We're here for blood, not for sound tactics.
That's
Well,
right.
we still had a fair old kill count racked up by the end of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
I don't know,
if you
I
guys had
wanted
gotten to turn
to
7,
check.
like
Oh, no.
stuff would have died.
Had it
If
gone to
he-
7,
if
it would
he
have
had turned
definitely.
7, my snow foxes would have lived.
Yeah, that's
as
exactly
long
what I
as
said.
Jarvis, long as Jarvis didn't turn up and lightning bolt them off as well.
Right.
True.
But
Yeah, like I said, had it gone to 7, you'd have had your snow foxes left. That was-
it would have been pretty brutal. But
Yeah.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, but it was. I must admit, it's been every game so far, it's been great opponents. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Haven't had any problems. The even like the last round where my opponent was really late. We had 2 hours for the round. He played at a hellish clip. We got the game done in about an hour and a half. So
My kind of
Yeah.
player. Yeah,
So
buddy.
it wasn't Alex Coos. Got it.
I think this is my longest game this whole tournament.
Yeah, and you guys still finished in like 2 hours. That was really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
I,
really good. Yeah,
I don't hang about. So anyway, so
Great.
my
So
kind of player. I like it.
once again, congrats, Richard, on the win. Hopefully that gets you enough points to put you over the top for the tournament as a whole.
we'll see.
Uh,
that
let's see,
reminds me. Have a look at how the other games are going.
Yeah,
check it out.
Ask
Why am I
the
not in
other
there
guys,
already?
'cause it looks like they're done, but I'm waiting on an answer from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Kyle and Richard for letting us watch their game. Thanks,
Right.
guys. I'd like to thank Mark Taylor for running the event and letting us stream the final match here. I'd also like to thank Mike Rossi and Felix Castro and Britton Williams for joining me to talk about the game as it unfolded. I hope everybody's enjoyed watching. And coming up very, very soon, we're going to start having Call to Arms matches going on. So we'll, of course, be streaming those. If you're playing Call to Arms, keep your eyes open for that. If you are interested in jumping on and helping us cover some of the games in the future, let me know. I can add you to our group.
Oh, you don't.
We're always happy to have a good variety of dudes with beards covering games.
Usually not.
Guys with
I-
short beards. Guys
I
with
shaved
Final
mine off
Shadow.
like 3 days ago, so I'm regrowing it now. So
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should be almost ready for joining us.
Yeah, just to be clear, you don't need to have a beard to
I thought it was
commentate,
mandatory, isn't it? No, I mean
It helps,
it looks it.
but it helps. But
It helps. There could be one guy without a beard per stream. That's how it works. That's the quota.
There we go. Okay.
and it's usually Ashley.
It's
And it's usually Ashley. So on that note,
all right.
thanks for watching Dash 28 Live. You stay safe out there. I'm your host, Mike Adkins, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Buddies.
Guys.